It was night, and everything around was as black as ink. A tiny orange flame burned quietly in the darkness. It seemed to be the only light in the world. The flames flickered and swayed, as if a single breath could extinguish them. Utterly fragile. In its fragile light, a pale-faced young man with bloodshot eyes sat quietly to one side. The boy was about 15 or 16 years old. His features were ordinary and unremarkable. He was slightly biting his lower lip, and his lips were very pale, as if he had recently lost blood. His hair was long and black, tied in a simple high ponytail like a woman's. He wore a gray-brown long coat with centipede butts, which reached down to his knees and covered most of his simple trousers of the same color. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, a soft knocking sound came from not far away in the darkness. The sound of finger joints tapping against thin wood was especially clear in the quiet night. The knocking sound rang out again. The man by the fire trembled slightly but remained silent. He had clearly heard it, yet showed no intention of responding. "Are you asleep?" A sigh came from outside the door. It was the voice of an older, middle-aged woman. She hesitated for a moment, then turned and slowly left. The man by the fire only breathed a slight sigh of relief when the footsteps were completely out of earshot. He stretched out his hands and gently covered the flames. Feeling the subtle warmth from his palms, a relaxed expression appearing on his face. "Zio Huey, you shouldn't have turned on the light." A low voice came softly from behind the man. "Lighting the lamps will attract things that shouldn't come. Nighttime is different from daytime." The voice slowly approached, and then on the other side of the flame, a tired woman's face, bearing a striking resemblance to the man, slowly appeared. She looked at the man with concern. "What's wrong? Can't sleep again? You've been waking up in the middle of the night lately. Did something happen during the day? Mother, why are you awake too?" "I deliberately kept the light dim so as not to wake you," the man said apologetically. "I've just been having trouble sleeping lately." Hearing this, the middle-aged woman sighed and gently patted the man's shoulder. "It's all my mother's fault for being so incompetent, for not being able to move into their inner city. Otherwise, how could this have happened?" She didn't say anything more, but the worry on her face deepened. "All right, Mom, you can go back to sleep. I'll just sit for a little while and then go back to sleep right away." The man forced a smile to show that it was all right. "Okay, your father has to go supervise the construction at dawn, so I need to catch up on some sleep. Otherwise, I won't be able to get up." The middle-aged woman nodded, got up, and went to the door to check if the doors and windows were closed properly. Then in the darkness, she carefully felt and pinched a purplish-black stone hanging on the wall by the door. After confirming that the stone was safe, she turned around and quietly went into the inner room. Soon she heard the creaking of the wooden bed and the old man muttering as he turned over. Silence returned to the area around the flames. The man remained seated alone, his mind replaying the dreamlike scenes of the past few days. He dreams every day, or perhaps it's not a dream at all, but another life he once lived. In that era, skyscrapers, cars, and airplanes filled the world. Humanity was conquering the planet and heading towards the stars. Ordinary people had no worries about food and drink, and most people passed the time by using mobile phones and computers. It was nowhere near as difficult as it is now. The man extended his index finger and gently wrote 2 characters on the dimly lit ground. Lin Huey. This is his name, and also the only mark he has in his life. He wiped away the traces, let out a soft breath, stood up, carefully moved away from the flames, and went to the door and window of the room. Through the thin window, he found a few small holes and peeked outside. The Lin family lived in a large courtyard with dozens of members, making them one of the most prosperous and large families in the area. What came into his view was a square Chinese courtyard house. The courtyard has everything: artificial hills and ponds, large trees and pavilions. Everything was shrouded in a thin, grayish-white mist. This is cold fog. Lin Huey's life has been filled with extremely troublesome circumstances. Or it can't be described as troublesome, but rather dangerous. During the day, all sorts of strange creatures roam outside the city, while at night, shrouded in mist, various eerie and terrifying dangers drift about. Here, during the day, people rely on the city's high walls to avoid monsters and ferocious beasts. At night, they rely on the jade talismans they receive from the inner-city government offices to protect their homes, and dare not go out. These are all facts that Lin Huey has pieced together from his memory after regaining consciousness these past few days. But that was the most bizarre thing for him. Lin Huey carefully poked the hole in front of him, a little bigger with his finger so that he could see it more clearly. At this moment, the situation in the outer courtyard that he saw was completely different from the Lin family's own courtyard during the day. Yes, completely different. Although the Lin family was a prominent clan, their courtyard was not this exquisite. The decorations and repairs were only for basic living needs. Unlike the courtyard in front of us, which exuded the luxurious style of a wealthy family. Things like ponds, rockeries, and pavilions require long-term maintenance to keep them clean and enjoyable. They are far beyond what the Lin family can afford. But now, through the thin mist, what Lin Huey saw was so clear and real. Gurgle. Lin Huey unconsciously swallowed. He panicked. If he had seen this scene every day before awakening his past life memories, he wouldn't have panicked so much. But after he awakened, he realized what all these things he saw before him truly represented. This is one of the key reasons why this place is so eerie. Every night under the shroud of mist, the scenery outside the house is different each time. Going out at night is not allowed, and aside from the mysterious threats lurking around, the biggest reason is this. Every night after the fog covers their outside of the window, it first becomes thick and then gradually thins out. And the scenery that people can see afterward is different for each person. To date, Lin Huey has seen at least dozens of different styles of bizarre courtyards in his home. Sometimes it repeats itself, but most of the time it changes. Various traditional Chinese courtyards have been replaced one after another, all of which look old and dilapidated, clearly indicating that no one has taken care of them for a long time. Standing at the window, Lin Huey quietly looked outside, motionless. Like a statue. It wasn't until the fog outside gradually thickened again, and then more than an hour later, that it thinned out again, restoring the original layout of the Lin family's courtyard. Everything quietly returned to normal. At this moment, the sky slowly brightened from the east, and their entire courtyard returned to normal as if nothing had happened. Seeing this, Lin Huey breathed a sigh of relief, slowly took a few steps back, and returned to the oil lamp. Puff! He blew out the light in one breath. As the white sunlight slowly streamed through the window, illuminating the room, I could faintly hear my parents getting dressed behind me. He knew that another busy day was about to begin. The Lin family lived in the outer city of Taiyu City. Taiyu is also the name of the city they live in. It is an extremely large urban area, mainly divided into two parts, inner and outer. The inner city is the bustling core area, a safe place to live with abundant resources. It is said to be a fog-free zone, an absolutely safe area where there is no fog even at night. The outer city is the area where they live. It is not a region, but a vast area composed of many small towns built around the inner city of Taiyu. Between each town are large tracts of farmland, vegetable gardens, orchards, and various processing workshops. The town where the Lin family lived was called Xinyu Town. To outsiders, they were still Taiyu people, but to their outsiders, they were considered to be from the very outskirts of the city. Why are you still standing here? In the inner room behind, the father, Lin Shun, was wearing a gray-white coat, fastening the centipede butt on his chest with one hand and holding a dark brown wild boar skin vest in the other, which he wore for warmth. If you can't sleep, just take a look. Lin Huey turned around and forced a smile. He didn't want his parents to worry. The father seemed to have thought of something when he saw this. He opened his mouth to speak, but then stopped. He had a dull-faced, dark skin, a strong build, and gray hair. He worked as a supervisor in the town's oil mill. His wages weren't much, but they weren't small either, enough to support his family of 3. In a normal world, this would be considered a good life. But their environment is abnormal. With a sigh, Lin Shun said nothing, put on his vest, unlocked the door, and left. You haven't eaten anything yet? His mother, Yao Shan, called out as she chased after him. I'm not eating. I'm going to the neighborhood to get some government food. Lin Shun waved his hand without looking back, walked through the courtyard, opened the gate, and quickly disappeared outside. The courtyard was restored to its original state, as the Lin family had always done. A white stone well, 2 dark, crooked trees, a set of gray stone table and stools, with indistinct chessboard lines and some black writing carved on the table. The area was surrounded by uneven earthen walls, with piles of firewood, old furniture, and farm tools stacked in the corners. Lin Huey watched his father leave, then grabbed a coat and slowly walked out as well. His mother chased after him and stuffed a steamed bun with vegetables into his hand. It was hot and had a faint aroma of vegetable oil. He ate it in a few bites. If you have nothing to do, go outside and get some sun. I have to go to work in a bit. I'll be back in the afternoon. Mother Yao Shan changed into a bright white cot dress, put on arm sleeves, slung her small handbag over her shoulder, and prepared to go out. Lin Huey remembered that she worked in a garment workshop in the town. She was a long-time employee there, and had been working there for more than 10 years. The young lady of the house is coming to inspect today. I'll find a chance to ask about your situation and see if there's any hope. Don't rush things, the mother carefully advised. Lin Huey nodded. Before his memories were awakened, he had reached the age where he should have gone out to work and earn money. Because he hadn't learned any skills before, he drifted aimlessly for a long time, only to wake up when he reached a certain age, but by then it was already too late. His parents have been busy arranging a job for him recently. Seeing this, the mother looked around, leaned closer, and whispered mysteriously. When I said don't worry, I was just trying to comfort you. Your dad landed a side job the other day, so don't tell anyone. The deal was closed yesterday, and the client promised to guarantee you a top-notch career path. A private deal? Lin Huey was shocked. If he got caught, he would be in big trouble. Just don't tell anyone, don't worry, it's fine. Many workshops around here have done it. The mother was obviously used to it. Lin Huey stopped talking. What's done is done, and there's no point in saying anything now. There are more than 12 workshops of all sizes in this town. If you really count them, many of the managers have probably worked there. If you wanted to arrest them, you could arrest a lot of them. He was just worried about the risk. You see, the oil mill where his father worked was owned by the town. If it were discovered, the consequences would be more serious than if it were a private oil mill operating illegally. He might even be sent to reclaim wasteland as cannon fodder. Your father should be able to bring back a message today. Be patient and wait. During the day, you can take a walk around the area to stretch your muscles. Just remember to come back as soon as the bell rings, the mother continued. Okay, I understand. Lin Huey's mind was a bit of a mess, so he could only nod. He's been bombarded with memories these past 2 days, and right now he has absolutely no concrete plans for himself or for the future. He can only take it one step at a time. Watching her mother, Yao Shan, quickly comb her hair, put on a jade hairpin shaped like a bean pod, and then hurried out the door. Lin Huey followed him into the courtyard, stood at the gate, and looked out. Outside was a wide, horizontal dirt road, sparsely covered with green grass. The road surface was uneven, with puddles in some places, indicating that it had rained recently. The houses connected to the dirt road, like sesame seeds on a curve, stretching into the distance along his line of sight. The houses vary in size. Some are earthen houses and others have stone courtyards, but all the houses have one thing in common: they are surrounded by high walls. By this time, the road was already bustling with activity, with carts carrying goods, ox carts, horse-drawn carriages carrying people, children herding chickens and ducks to graze, and most of all, people leaving their homes to go to the town center to do errands. Lin Huey lifted his foot and walked out, smelling the faint, fishy smell of yellow mud, and headed towards the town. On both sides of the road, between the houses, are large fields and vegetable gardens, where some people have already gone into the fields to start working. Zio Huey, have you been resting poorly lately? Why is your face so pale? After walking a few steps, an old man with a white beard who was weeding looked up and asked. His name is Lai Quanzhong, and he lives on the right side of the Lin family compound. They've been neighbors for many years. His only son works as a barber in town. Yeah, I haven't been sleeping well lately. I have a bit of a headache. Lin Huey made up a reason casually. Then you'll have to be careful. Drink more hot water when you get back. If it's really bad, try eating some lucky meat, a type of meat. It'll help you recover faster, Lai Quanzhong said with a smile. Lucky meat. Lin Huey's heart stirred slightly. The population of Taiyu City is extremely large, with the outer towns having the largest population. Logically speaking, it would be extremely difficult to maintain such a large city with such backward productivity in this era. But that's the strange thing. Every so often, the city government would distribute a type of meat called wanfu meat. This is a kind of meat that smells and tastes delicious. I don't know what kind of creature it was cut from, but everyone gets a large piece weighing more than 10 kilograms every month. But that's not the main point. The real reason is that this wanfu meat can not only fill your stomach, but also cure all diseases. No matter what the illness is, just eat a small piece, and it will cure the disease quickly, without even needing to see a doctor. Lin Huey snapped out of his reverie, chatted casually with Grandpa Lai for a few minutes, and then continued walking along the dirt road. He hadn't walked far when he saw a large group of townspeople gathered outside a small courtyard by the roadside. Several of Lin's cousins from other branches of the family were also watching the commotion. When they saw him coming from afar, the boys scattered and started making faces at him, with one of the bolder ones even spitting at him from a distance. Lin Huey pretended to rush over, which scared the boys so much that they ran away quickly. Their branch of the family was considered ordinary within the large Lin family. The reason why he was so disliked by these young men was because he had accomplished nothing before his awakening. He was neither capable nor good-looking. Compared to the other children his age, Lin Huey was just an idle loafer who spent his days lying at home doing nothing. In an era when both adults and children had to work to make a living, staying at home and sponging off one's parents was something to be looked down upon. After shooing the boys away, Lin Huey walked over, stood outside the crowd, and stood on tiptoe to peer inside. As he looked around, he vaguely heard a few people on his right whispering and discussing things like mountain spirits, peach tree spirits, and revenge. On the left, several middle-aged women were gently moving their lips, chanting a prayer in unison. Further inside, two tall, imposing men dressed in black official uniforms stood like two walls, blocking the townspeople watching the spectacle from their outside. The two chatted quietly, oblivious to everyone else, speaking in a dialect from some unknown town that was completely incomprehensible. Lin Huey looked further inside and could vaguely see that the courtyard gate was open, and there were faint traces of blood on the ground. A human leg, gnawed to a bloody pulp exposing the white bone, was clearly visible from the doorway. Still looking, a naked child who was peeking out was grabbed by the ear by his mother from behind and dragged out forcefully. See, this is what happens when you don't replace the jade talisman in time. I'll teach you a lesson so you won't dare to touch the jade talisman again. Let go. It hurts. I won't do it again. I'll never do it again. The child screamed as he was slowly dragged away. Lin Huey watched the mother and son leave. Dressed in a gray long coat, he was inconspicuous among the crowd of people dressed similarly. This isn't about the jade talisman, a woman's voice suddenly said in a low voice. Lin Huey turned his head and saw a tall woman in a gray long coat and black leather pants who had walked up behind him at some point. The woman's face was somewhat similar to his, and her hair was simply tied into two buns. She was holding a soy sauce jar in her hand, obviously having just returned from buying soy sauce at the corner store. Let's go, stop looking. This is a case of a ghost breaking into the door during the day. The woman's name was Lin Hongzhen, the eldest daughter of the Lin family's main branch, and also Lin Huey's cousin. She was a year older than him. The ghost that broke in, Lin Huey repeated it, his expression turning somewhat grim. This was a general term for all the monsters and beasts that attacked humans during the day, not literally referring to ghosts. Recently, there have been 2 cases in Xinyu, and even more in Rayoshan, 5 cases. All of them were during the day, Lin Hongzhen said in a low voice, her face somber. Are your uncle and aunt planning to move into the inner city? Lin Huey suddenly asked. He remembered that Lin Hongzhen's parents were business people in town, and their family was better off than his. In addition, Lin Hongjin herself was an assistant at Sheiyu Pharmacy, earning a considerable wage, so moving into the inner city was indeed a possibility. Yes, soon. Recently, several towns have been plagued by ghostly disturbances, so my parents are planning to go to the city to avoid them. Lin Hongjin nodded slightly. She and Lin Hui had a decent relationship. They played together well when they were young, and she was one of the Lin family members who occasionally associated with them. Things haven't been peaceful lately, so be careful and don't go looking for trouble, Lin Hongjin added. She was about to continue when a little girl with pigtails patted her on the shoulder and greeted her. "Zyokin, is that you?" She turned around with a delighted expression and immediately started chatting with the girl. Lin Hui, who was about to ask something, stopped talking when he saw this. He noticed that the girl looked to be about 15 or 16 years old, dressed very scantily, in a white tube top and a leather miniskirt that only covered her thighs, with a simple snakeskin belt around her waist, a typical inner-city style. A brown wavy dagger was also strapped to the outside of her thigh. Finally, he took one last look at the bloodstains in the yard before turning and leaving silently. Continuing along the dirt road towards the town, his figure gradually disappeared around the bend. The young girl glanced at him and then looked at Lin Hongjin. "Your brother, yes, my cousin, from the 4th branch of the family. He's an honest kid," Lin Hongjin nodded. "Do you think he has a chance of being selected this time? His family's circumstances aren't very good. And you know what's been going on lately. Staying in Xinyu all the time isn't a good thing. Looks aren't good enough. You know how Amamiya selects people, looks come first, and those who aren't good-looking at least have to be bribed." The girl shook her head. "To be honest, only Lin Hongyu from your Lin family was chosen based on her talent. The rest. Lin Hongyu, you'd better not mention that guy anymore. Just hearing his name makes me angry. How about my cousin? How about I get him to work for you as a runner?" "He's started looking for things to do lately," Lin Hongjin asked tentatively. "Why don't you suggest he go work for the Chen family?" The young girl looked speechless. "Don't you know what's going on inside Sheiyu?" Lin Hongjin gave an awkward laugh. "Mainly because he's getting on in years, and we have a good relationship. I was thinking of finding a way for him." Lin Hui was a well-known figure in the Lin family. His parents were famous for doting on him, providing him with good food and drink from a young age, and not wanting to send him out to suffer and learn a trade. Only now that he was older did they realize how anxious they were. In ordinary families, children under 10 years old are sent out to learn new things. The Lin family is a large clan with many members. Lin Hui's father has a good income and is considered a manager. He dotes on his son. In other people's eyes, being unwilling to send someone away to learn a trade is already considered spoiling. And now, Lin Hongjin shook her head inwardly. Even she had started working as an apprentice and errand girl at the age of 10. Now, 7 years later, she finally obtained her membership last year and officially became an ordinary believer of Sheiyu. In 2U, there are only 3 ways for ordinary people to rise above their circumstances. Selections were made by the government, by Sheiyu, and by the Chen family. If none of these 3 paths work, then the only options are farming or becoming a helper and learning a trade. If neither of these options works, then that's Lin Hui's current situation. The only way to make a living is to go out and do manual labor and take dangerous roads. In essence, in the eyes of the poor, Lin Hui was already considered the only son of the steward, a young master who had completely escaped poverty. In Xinyu town, he could barely be considered a second-generation rich kid. Therefore, Lin Hui's father would never be willing to let his only son take such a risky path. Lin Hongjin was well aware of this. Xinyu town, Xinyu oil mill. In a dark corner filled with sticky grease, rows of large oil drums stood neatly arranged like soldiers in formation. Lin Hui's father, Lin Shun, with bloodshot eyes, quietly slipped a heavy gray money bag into the hands of a pot-bellied old man dressed as a wealthy man. "Old Chen, what do you think about this quota for recommending someone to the inner city? The goods are good, and the matter was handled very well." "Don't worry, Zio Lin, I have already conveyed the message," the old man said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Lin Shun's heart skipped a beat. He gritted his teeth, took out another silver-edged money pouch, and handed it over. This was his savings for retirement, the money he had originally intended to use to move to the inner city with his wife, Yao Shan, to live out their retirement years. But now he couldn't care less about that. My son has been staying at home for over a year, doing nothing and drifting aimlessly every day. If this continues, he might become a complete failure. If he could become an employee of the Chen family, it would be worth all the effort he put in. You know, it takes at least 7 or 8 years to go from a lowly apprentice to an employee. This private deal and the savings he made this time saved him those 7 or 8 years. Everyone in 2U knows that the Chen family offers the best benefits. As long as you can get into the Chen family, you can at least live in the inner city and be guaranteed basic safety. That's too formal, isn't it? But bribing people takes money, Brother Lin. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Old Chen's smile widened. He opened the money pouch, glanced at it, and weighed it in his hand. Just send someone over later, Lin Hui, right? Yes, yes, Lin Shun nodded repeatedly. Okay, I'll remember, Old Chen nodded. It's getting late, I'll go have lunch first. Around tomorrow afternoon, you can bring people to the third gate of Chenjiabao, the one where you can see Heiai Pagoda from outside. Don't go to the wrong gate. Okay, I'll be there on time, Lin Shun quickly replied. Watching Old Chen slowly walk out of the oil mill warehouse with his hands behind his back, a huge weight was finally lifted from his heart. Although this time I used up all my savings of many years, even my retirement fund, as long as my son does well in prison, the money can always be earned back through hard work later. Lin Hui wandered around the town along the road. The entire town of Xinyu is a tiny town with 5 streets intersecting in a comb-like shape. The so-called streets are actually just ordinary dirt roads, only they've been compacted. The town's main industries consist of a dozen or so workshops, with the oil mill being just one of them. There are also garment workshops, leather workshops, grain mills, fruit mills, and so on. Aside from workshops, there were only residential houses, either square earthen houses or stone-walled courtyards. The only thing that left a deep impression on Lin Hui was a dilapidated temple he passed by on the roadside. He didn't go into the dilapidated temple, he just stood outside and looked through the broken walls. There was nothing enshrined inside, only rows of clay sculptures of children with mutilated bodies. The dark clay sculptures are exquisitely crafted and lifelike, just like rows of children under the age of 3 sitting cross-legged in the temple, their faces full of joy. It is precisely because of its incompleteness that this scene appears particularly eerie. This is also why he dared not go in. As noon approached, Lin Hui turned back home. On his way back, he looked out towards the edge of town. There was a thick white fog, everything was gray, and you couldn't see anything at all. Fog shrouds everything in this world, and only by circling the giant city can people obtain fog-free zones and have the right to survive. With a sigh, Lin Hui quickened his pace and hurried back, almost reaching the Lin family compound. They happened to run into 3 or 4 members of the Lin family, who were respectfully seeing off a pot-bellied old man as he left. Among those clansmen, the one standing at the very front was none other than Lin Keoi, the patriarch of the Lin clan. This patriarch, now over 70 years old, is the current head of the Lin family. At this moment, he is leaning on a maroon cane, his face is ruddy, and his silver hair is neatly combed at the back of his head. His usually dignified face has become particularly gentle. He was carefully holding the hand of a pretty young girl beside him, while talking to the pot-bellied old man. Upon seeing Lin Hui return, the old clan chief stopped talking and patted the arm of the girl beside him one last time. It's settled then, the old patriarch said decisively. But isn't this a bit much? This is a spot that Brother Lin Shun secured. The pot-bellied old man was none other than Old Chen, who had just come out of the oil mill. He hadn't expected that as soon as he stepped out, he would be invited over by the old patriarch of the Lin family, who was waiting outside. Without saying a word, the other party stuffed a large sum of money into his hand, with the only request being that he give the spot to Lin Hongyu, who was also from the Lin family. The old clan chief offered even more benefits, so Old Chen was naturally happy to agree. However, this spot was something Lin Shun had risked his life to earn from the young master. He changed it like this. There's nothing wrong with it. We're all members of the Lin family, and I'm the clan leader. I'm in charge of all matters, big and small, the old clan leader Lin Keoi said decisively. I didn't expect Shun to succeed before. Now that it's done, it would be a waste to give such a good opportunity to join that Chen family to Xiao Hui. It's better to give it to Hongyu. With her talent and perseverance, if she develops well in the Chen family and gains a high status, she can then help Xiao Hui. That's the right path. It's the best choice for the entire Lin family. What about the area along the river? I'll tell him I'm his father. If he dares to disobey, this cane of mine isn't just for show, Lin Keoi said in a deep voice. Old Chen glanced at the Lin family and shook his head inwardly. It seemed that this family had been waiting here all along, aiming to take advantage of Lin Shun's family. That's ruthless. However, this is all the Lin family's business. He only needs to get the benefits, the rest is none of his concern. In any case, he ultimately delivered on his promise to the Lin family for the spot. Seeing Lin Hui slowly approaching, the old clan chief lowered his voice and said a few words to Elder Chen before seeing him off and getting him into the carriage by the roadside. A group of people passed by Lin Hui, pushing him aside. After seeing the people off, the old clan chief turned around and looked at Lin Hui. Looking at his thin figure and lifeless eyes, he snorted coldly and led the others back to the courtyard. Lin Hongyu and her father Lin Shuntao were also in the group seeing people off. When they looked at Lin Hui, they felt a little embarrassed for taking up someone else's spot. Lin Shuntao gently nudged his son. Go and say hello to your cousin and try to get closer to him in the future. You go if you want, I'm not going. Lin Hongyu turned her head and said impatiently, I have to train my mind every day, how can I have time to wander around like him? It's just that I owe him something, I can just pay him back double later, seeing that her father was still urging her. Lin Hongyu became even more impatient. Don't push me. He's incompetent, he couldn't seize their opportunity. Whose fault is that? The group returned to the courtyard amidst their bickering, leaving Lin Hui watching the scene with a puzzled expression, a feeling that something was amiss. The people opposite him weren't speaking loudly, and he was too far away to hear what they were saying. Seeing that everyone had gone home, he followed them into the courtyard. He was quite tired after wandering around for so long. Boom. What? You gave Xiao Hui's spot to Hongyu. A teacup was smashed against the wall. Lin Hui's father, Lin Shun, stood up in a rage, his hands and body covered in slightly hot tea. He trembled all over, staring at the clan leader Lin Keoi, who sat in the main seat of the hall, his chest heaving rapidly like a bellows. That's a spot I fought tooth and nail for my son. He stared at Lin Keoi and said, Word by word. How dare you? Are you trying to rebel? Lin Keoi also suddenly stood up and smashed the teacup on the ground. I'm your father, what's wrong with using some of your things? What's wrong with that? I raised you all these years and this is how you repay me. Lin Keoi roared angrily as he walked step by step, leaning on his cane, to Lin Shun. What? You've got bolder. You dare to smash things in front of me now. You've become really capable. He grabbed Lin Shun's arm and slapped himself on the head. Come on, if you've got the guts, come and hit me. Hit your dad. I'm standing right in front of you, go ahead and hit me if you dare. Attack! Lin Keoi roared, his voice echoing throughout the hall. The two men's arms were locked in a tight struggle, their dark skin revealing prominent veins. Lin Shun's face turned as red as a purplish red, his eyes bloodshot, as he stared intently at his father. His fists were clenched tightly, but he didn't move at all. Hongyu's place has already been submitted. The Chen family has already accepted her. We have to accept it, there's no way to change it now. What you need to do is face the facts. Help Hongyu grow and thrive in the Chen family, so that she can have a chance to help your son in the future. When that happens, both of us from the Lin family can enter the Chen family. That will be a truly beneficial thing for their entire family. Seeing that he had his son intimidated, Lin Keoi's tone softened slightly as he began to explain in a cold voice. Lin Shun clenched his fists tightly, looking at his father's admonishing face, his disappointment and sorrow almost overflowing. From childhood to adulthood, he never received any support from his father. Almost all the benefits he received came from Hongyu's family, His current position as the manager of the oil mill was only realized because he had unexpectedly gained the favor of a noble person in the government. I initially thought I could let it go. After all, he's my father and I could just put up with it. But I never imagined that the spot I worked so hard to earn for my son would be snatched away by this old man who had been scheming and watching closely. At this moment, Lin Shun became angrier and more frustrated the more he thought about it. Lin Keoi, however, was still rambling on, telling him to prioritize the entire Lin family, that a strong family as a whole would greatly benefit everyone, and that he shouldn't harbor resentment over temporary sacrifices. Suddenly, Lin Shun violently flung his father's hand away, pointed at him, gritted his teeth, and trembled all over. From childhood to adulthood, I've never relied on you for anything. I tolerated your sacrifices before. But now you want to sacrifice my son too. Fine. From this day forward, my Lin Shun family of 3 has absolutely no connection with your Lin family. Absolutely no relation. He mustered all his strength, roared, and turned to leave without looking at Lin Keoi, whose face was flushed red. You, Lin Keoi pointed at him, too angry to utter a complete sentence. You unfilial son. You unfilial son, bang. The hall door was kicked open, and Lin Shun strode out, quickly disappearing around the corner of the courtyard. Lin Keoi was left standing there, gritting his teeth. But he didn't dare call for help, because it was indeed his fault, and if it got out, it would have a bad impact on him and the entire Lin family. But what did I do wrong? I did all this for the Lin family, for everyone. Lin Keoi gritted his teeth and gasped for breath. Lin Hui sat upright on the dark bed in the inner room. Holding a bowl of corn and yam porridge left by her mother that morning, she spooned it into her mouth and swallowed it. Outside the window, the sounds of children playing in the alley could be heard, seemingly throwing stones. Further away in the wind, one could faintly hear someone playing an instrument similar to an erhu, the sound mournful and desolate. Bang! Suddenly, the wooden door to the inner room was pushed open, and old man Lin Shun entered with a furious expression. When your mother gets back, we're moving out immediately. We're never coming to this Lin family compound again. Lin Hui looked bewildered. He was still pondering what he should do, and what he could do in the future when his father suddenly rushed in and suggested moving. Don't worry about it. Son, your plan has fallen through this time, but don't be afraid, don't worry, your old man still has a way. Still a way, a hint of ruthlessness flashed across Lin Shun's somewhat wooden face, as if he had made up his mind. You're my only son. I'll never let you be left without a home, Lin Shun repeated. After saying that, he began looking around for a wooden basket to pack his things. Lin Hui watched for a while, then realized what was happening and started tidying up as well. He didn't know what had happened, but it was probably related to the powerful Lin family. Otherwise, his father wouldn't be so angry and wouldn't have said he wanted to leave the Lin family. You see, these days in the outer city, a large and prosperous clan meant that you were not to be trifled with and that you were safe. Although the Lin family was extremely wealthy, they were far more well-off than ordinary people. While many people could only eat bran and drink water if they had to eat wanfu meat, the Lin family could at least manage to get some coarse grain rice with a little meat. If it weren't for a last resort, my father would never have said anything about leaving the family. After tidying up for a while, Lin Shunjiang, the father of Lin Hongjin, the eldest son, came to the house. Lin Shunjiang was a middle-aged fat man with a completely different style from Lin Shunhe. His small eyes darted around, revealing a subtle shrewdness. He and Lin Shun went to a corner and talked privately for a while, seemingly trying to persuade him, but in the end he sighed repeatedly and went back alone. The old man continued packing his things in silence. By that time his mother, Yao Shan, returned home. It was already getting dark. Honey, what exactly happened? Yao Shan asked urgently as she entered the room, putting down her work bag, her face exhausted. Lin Shun opened his mouth, but when he saw his wife's worried face, his face trembled and tears welled up in his eyes. He had absolutely no idea how to tell his wife that the opportunity they had worked so hard for over the years had been snatched away by his father, Lin Keoi. Their years of hard work had been completely wasted, which was undoubtedly a huge blow to the wife. All right, stop talking. Sigh. Actually, Yao Shan had heard some commotion before she came back, and now she only got confirmation from her husband. She glanced at her son, who was tidying up and drying clothes in the yard not far away. It's okay, I understand what kind of person your father is. Whatever decision you make, just like before, I will listen to you, Shanshan. Upon hearing this, Lin Shun could no longer hold back. He grabbed his wife's hand, his eyes reddening. Don't worry. I will never let you suffer again. I swear I believe you. Yao Shan gently hugged her husband, and the two fell silent for a moment, as if frozen in time. In the courtyard, Lin Hui glanced at this scene and shook his head slightly. It seems that although my life has been mediocre, at least my family atmosphere has been good. Before, I was just drifting through life, but now that my memories have returned, it's time to plan my future properly. Forget about making it big. I need to at least guarantee my basic safety and shelter. I can't rely on my parents for everything. Lin Hui is a man without much ambition. His only wish is to find a quiet place, quietly find something to study, enjoy researching things, and discover the pleasure of discovering mysteries that others cannot. In his past life, he enjoyed playing with things like Lubin locks and Rubik's cubes. But in this environment, it's impossible for him to indulge in such frivolous pursuits. Thinking of this, he unconsciously raised his right hand and looked at the back of his hand. On the skin there, a complex diamond-shaped, blood-red pattern was clearly etched. He had just discovered this thing. Judging from his previous memories, he didn't have this pattern on his hands. Obviously, this thing only started to appear after his memories were awakened. He hasn't discovered its function yet, though. It can't just be a plain pattern, can it? Lin Hui pondered to himself. After a quick afternoon meal of meat buns, with the previously prepared spiced pig's head meat, and some stir-fried wild vegetables of unknown origin, the food was very fragrant. However, apart from Lin Hui, Lin Shun and Yao Shan had no appetite, and could only watch their son devour most of the dishes. Nothing happened that night. The next morning, as soon as the fog lifted, someone from the Lin family peeked out and watched as Lin Shun and his family of 3, carrying large and small bags, rented an ox cart, and spent the whole morning moving all their belongings away from the compound. Old man Lin Shun had clearly made arrangements in advance. He quickly led his wife and son to a square, gray-white stone courtyard, and soon unloaded their belongings from the ox cart. The next step was to settle down again, start cooking again, and rebuild the family's possessions. His parents wouldn't let him do these things. They just told him to rest aside and gave him a small bag of melon seeds, which were seasoned with spices and had a sweet aftertaste. They were quite delicious. Lin Hui tried to help, but was pushed away several times, so he gave up, took the melon seeds and went out of the house. He sat down on a yellow stone outside the door and watched the flow of people and vehicles on the muddy road. The new house is further away from the town, and it is located opposite the Lin family compound, on opposite sides of the town center. Hui Zai, why are you sitting here? Not long after he sat down, a tall, thin young man with a sleazy look and his jacket butts undone approached Lin Hui from the passing crowd and stared at him familiarly, asking a question. Pengshan, what are you doing here? Lin Hui was studying the bloodstains on the back of his hand when he heard the noise. He looked up and immediately burst out laughing. The newcomer was named Peng Shan, and like him, he was an idle loafer with some background. Both being scoundrels, the two got along well, having shared similar experiences and personalities, and gradually became friends over time. Peng Shan comes from the Peng family, a large and wealthy clan in the town, which is even larger and richer than the Lin family. Peng Shan himself was originally living a wealthy and happy life, but his doting father fell ill and passed away a few years ago, leaving him and his 4 older sisters unable to support their family. As a result, they could only sit and eat away at their savings and squander their family fortune. After being swindled out of a lot of money by his clansmen, he realized his mistake and moved out on his own with his sisters. Now he's trying to find good homes for his family by acting as a go-between for his sisters. All things considered, although he was very capable, he was kind-hearted and a good person. Don't say any more, Sai. Lin Hui briefly told the other party about the move. Moving out is the right thing to do. Peng Shan laughed immediately upon hearing this. Let me tell you, big families are just so troublesome. They always have to consider the clansmen in everything they do. I always consider the clansmen, but when they go out, they never consider me. That's right. Lin Huey nodded. So what if I wasted some time in the past few years? I'm still young. I'll always have a chance to work hard again. Those lousy bastards in my family, who do they think they are? Peng Shan cursed for a few minutes, then changed the subject. Now that you're at the age where you should be doing something, how's it going? Have you found something to do yet? Not yet. But my dad says he has a way. Lin Huey shook his head. We definitely wouldn't qualify for the government's public selection, and the requirements of the Sheiyu sect are too high, not to mention the Chen family. Let's not even mention them. With our qualifications, we can only go to a less desirable place to make a living. How about Wang's Trading Company, their chain of liquor stores? They are hiring a lot of people right now. No, I'm not going. What's so great about being a vegetable delivery guy? Lin Huey shook his head. Then let's pay some money to rent land and farm it, Peng Shan discussed. I've been researching this recently and have already gained some insights. He. Lin Huey remained noncommittal. He knew Peng Shan's personality all too well. With his lazy and indolent nature, farming. He'd be more suited to farming. Don't you believe me? Sai, you look down on people. Peng Shan was speechless, but didn't continue to refute. However, my older sister does have a way. It's not difficult, it's just helping with cleaning and keeping things clean. A cleaner, Lin Huey asked. Right, they are sanitation workers. You've summed it up perfectly, Peng Shan gave a thumbs up. I'm not going, Lin Huey refused again. Sai, you're not going anywhere, and with your abilities, you're all talk and no action. What can you do? Peng Shan was speechless. You didn't go either, Lin Huey retorted. Peng Shan was also choked up. The two of them simply sat together on the rock, watching the trucks and pedestrians constantly passing by on the dirt road. Among the passers-by, one could often see young men and women of similar age to them. They were dressed in work clothes, coming and going. Some wore long coats, some short coats, and many of them had the names of various workshops, restaurants, and family names on their clothes. Some also had the symbol of the Sheiyu cult, which was a cross-shaped symbol with two intersecting crescent moons. Sai, actually in this world, with ghosts breaking in during the day and ghosts shrouding the fog at night, life is so hard for the living. Why bother working so hard every day? Peng Shan sighed. How about we learn martial arts? Lin Huey suggested. He felt very insecure right now. The ghost that broke into his door, and the mist ghost that knocked on his door at night, made him increasingly uneasy about the future. If he hadn't awakened his memories, it would have been fine, but once he did, he couldn't bring himself to place his hopes on a jade talisman he had obtained through begging. Learn martial arts. What's the use of that? Can you even beat a member of the sect? Peng Shan scoffed. Take your eldest sister, Lin Hongjin, for example. She's a new member. As soon as she accepts the call, she immediately becomes as tough as iron, impervious to poison. She could practice martial arts for a whole night and still not achieve that in a lifetime. Is it that bad? Lin Huey's memory of this was rather hazy, and he was stunned when he heard this. Otherwise what? These days, only families with no connections are willing to practice martial arts. If you have connections, you can get into one of the three places: the government, the Chen family, or the Sheiyu sect. That would be a great opportunity to change your fate. The more Peng Shan said this, the more precious the Chen family spot that had been snatched away seemed. Lin Huey felt increasingly uneasy, and unconsciously began to carefully feel the bloodstains on the back of his hand. But if there's really no other way, working as a helper at a martial arts school or temple dojo is a good option. The pay may be low, but it's easy work. Peng Shan's eyes suddenly lit up as he thought of a benefit. Is there any way to deal with the door-breaking ghost and the mist ghost? Lin Huey suddenly asked again. 3 schools are possible, only those 3. There's no way to get in from the rest. Otherwise, why do you think everyone is so eager to get in? Peng Shan shook his head. As for the others, the only use of martial arts is to run away quickly when in danger. That's the main purpose of most people learning martial arts. So the martial arts schools in town basically teach lightness skills. It runs fast. This is good. Lin Huey was somewhat tempted. At our age, it's too late to learn martial arts. Peng Shan shattered his illusions. We can only learn some basic, low-level external skills that have no entry requirements. Those are for poor people. The harder they practice, the shorter their lives will be. Lin Huey remained silent. Neither of them spoke, and they just watched people bustling about. The busy people and the two of them idle, forming a stark contrast. As they looked around, the two noticed that there were many more ox carts on the road, and judging from their direction, they all seemed to be heading towards the inner city. Lin Huey looked towards the inner city. From a distance, all that can be seen is a huge white stone wall that envelops their entire city. The white wall was at least several hundred meters high, with its upper half disappearing into the light clouds. The wall surface was smooth and flat, giving it a majestic and imposing appearance. The entire white wall, from top to bottom and from left to right, appears to have been crafted from a single piece. "Why are they all going to the inner city?" he asked in a low voice. "It's all because of the recent gate-breaking ghosts. Everyone with some savings is planning to go to the inner city to take refuge. As long as it's not permanent residency, they can afford to find a place to stay temporarily." Peng Shen replied, "Didn't the city send anyone to investigate? They've dispatched a lot of patrol teams from the government. They seem to be tracking something." Peng Shen didn't stay long before he was about to leave. But as soon as he got up, he saw a bullock cart with the Chen family's name on it slowly driving by in the distance. The curtain at the back of the car was lifted, revealing several young people chatting and laughing inside. "It's the Chen family's convoy selecting people," Peng Shan said instinctively. Lin Huey was taken aback, then stood up and looked towards the convoy. He was looking for Lin Hongyu inside, but couldn't see her after scanning several times. He guessed it was another vehicle. The Chen family, the Lin family compound. Lin Kaoi sat in the head of the family seat in the main hall, looking down at the more than 10 family representatives from the branch families. "Has Hongyu left?" he asked in a low voice. "Let's go get in the car. The carriage company outside the Chen family's residence sent someone to pick us up," Lin Hongyu's father quickly replied. "The fourth brother has moved out, and his old courtyard is now empty. I have a lot of people here and we need rooms, so how about these rooms?" Lin Shuncheng, the second son, was a sickly, sallow-faced man. He had one leg bent and propped up on a stool, sitting slouching and lounging around. "Second brother, you have so many people, but I don't have many in my family. My son is still taking their imperial examinations to get a government job. My 3 grandsons are also waiting to have a place to live in the future. Why should they all go to your second wife?" A woman chimed in, protesting. "Your son has been taking their exam for so many years, and he hasn't even made it into the top 500 in the public selection. How can he expect to achieve academic success?" Lin Shuncheng, the second wife, said with a sneer. "All right, the fourth brother has moved out. Who knows where they live now?" Old clan chief Lin Kaoi interrupted the conversation and asked. "Who cares? Didn't he say he was cutting ties with his family? Why bother with him?" someone said indifferently. "It's good to sever ties. After the old man passes away, there will be one less person to divide the money. Although no one says it, everyone is secretly happy. The fourth brother does have some ability after all." Lin Kaoi frowned. "Father, are you worried that the fourth son will make a comeback?" Lin Shuncheng said. "He's just an oil mill manager. No matter how capable he is, that's about it. As for his wife and son, his wife is an elderly hired hand, and his son doesn't learn any skills and just loafs around all day. With that background, what are you worried about? I'm just a little disappointed. The fourth brother was still quite capable." Lin Kaoi sighed. "It's just that he was dragged down by his son, that's true. Apart from him, all the younger generation in our family have arrangements and are settled. The eldest and sixth son's families are already arranging engagements. Their families will prosper and flourish in the future. If the fourth son's family splits off now, they shouldn't have the nerve to come back and ask for favors when the family becomes successful." Lin Shuncheng laughed. "All right. Since the fourth son wants to sever ties with the family, the second son, you have acquaintances at the Yemen, so just go and change the registration later to avoid any future disputes. Let's not talk about this anymore. Now let's discuss this. There are already 3 families that have entered the inner city: the eldest son's family, the 5th son's family, and the 12th son's family. The purpose of this clan meeting is to encourage everyone to contribute and support the development of these 3 branches in the inner city. The old clan head, Lin Keoi, started his traditional art of sacrificing branches to benefit the main branch. Father, I want to learn martial arts. In Lin Huey's new home, the family had just sat down to eat lunch when Lin Huey blurted out a sentence. Learn martial arts? Lin Shun looked at his son, his brows furrowing. What's the use of learning martial arts? I've decided you'll learn to be a manager with me. First go to the oil mill to get familiar with their environment. And if there's really no other way, you can follow in my footsteps and have a job. But if you want to be a manager, you'll have to work very hard. After all, the final decision still rests with the small government office in town. Can managing the oil mill save your life? Lin Huey asked. If you can save up enough money to get into the inner city, then you can, Lin Shunha replied. The inner city still has to rely on others. If it encounters a gate-breaking ghost, it won't survive either, Lin Huey said in a deep voice. What's the use of learning martial arts? Lin Shunha said impatiently. The guards under your father's command number more than 10, and every single one of them has studied martial arts. Even the worst one has been learning for more than 10 years. And look at him now. He's still working as a gatekeeper at the oil mill. His monthly salary is less than 1/10 of what your father earns. Tell me, what's the use of learning martial arts? It's a good thing that the child has something they want to do. It's better than them staying at home all the time, Yao Shan said gently from the side. But at his age, he can't learn anything good in martial arts. Internal martial arts are age-restricted, so he can't learn them. External martial arts are all short-lived. If he learns them, he'll die young, which is even worse. It's better for me to feed him well and let him live off me for the rest of his life, Lin Shun said irritably. I only learn their external style, it's fine. I just practice casually to pass the time. It would be even better if I could get a job at the martial arts school, Lin Huey explained. Work at the martial arts school. This question immediately sparked an idea in Lin Shun. He considered it carefully, and his emotions calmed down. If you're really good at enduring hardship, working at a martial arts school is an option. I have connections with several martial arts schools in town. The oil mill often hires people from them for escorts, so we have a pretty good relationship. If that's what you're thinking of, then it's a good idea. The more he thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. He knew his son's situation. Although his son was physically weak, his son had a major advantage. He was good at calculations, far surpassing other children his age. He didn't know where his son learned this ability, but the martial arts school was short of people with strong math skills, so he might be able to get things done there. Thinking of this, he looked up at his son and saw a seriousness in his son's eyes that he had never seen before. His heart immediately filled with even more seriousness. Have you thought this through? You really want to learn martial arts? Let's make this clear first. You definitely can't go to their internal style. They only accept those under 10 years old. You can only go to their external style, and you can practice whatever you want there, but you're not allowed to hurt yourself. I just want to practice my running speed. I'm not interested in anything else. Don't worry, Dad. I will definitely not train too hard, Lin Huey replied firmly. Good. The idea is clear. That's good. Lin Shun paused for a moment, agreeing that the outer city was becoming increasingly dangerous, and practicing running fast was a way to ensure safety. Then several martial arts training grounds he was connected with flashed through his mind. Okay, I can arrange 3 venues for you. Which one would you like to choose? Which 3? The Flying Cloud Fist School, the Red Sand Temple, the Copper Arm Kung Fu School, and the King Feng Temple, the Fast Sword School. These 3 places are all long-term major oil suppliers to me, so we have a lot of dealings and good relationships, making it easy to arrange things. As long as your father is still here, you'll get some preferential treatment when you go in. Once you're older and have built up your connections there, I'll hand over the reins. That's how the transition will go, Lin Shun planned. Which of these 3 places can I learn the fastest running martial arts? Lin Huey asked directly. Both Flying Cloud Fist and King Feng Temple are fast. But practically speaking, I would prefer you to go to Flying Cloud Fist. Although King Feng Temple is faster, Flying Cloud Fist is more focused on actual combat, and the master of the school, Shang Yuan Fei, is much stronger than Beia Taoist of King Feng Temple. Flying Cloud Fist is also better managed than King Feng Temple, so your income will be much higher. No, I'm going to King Feng Temple. Lin Hui's gaze was firm. Having witnessed the nighttime fog and the daytime ghostly intruders, he desperately craved survival. As Peng Shan said, no matter how well you learn martial arts, you still can't beat a disciple from one of the three great families. So just specialize in one thing, and survival is the only thing that matters. Okay, then you can do it for now. If a better way comes up later, I'll figure something out. Lin Shun rarely saw his son's eyes so determined. And he immediately felt that he had to strike while the iron was hot, and finalize the matter before his son's enthusiasm dissipated. He immediately picked up his bowl, ate the food, grabbed his coat, and headed out the door. I'll arrange it right away. Shanshan, take a day off this afternoon and help Zhao Yi pack his things at home. After giving these instructions in a hurry, Lin Shun pushed open the door and left, quickly disappearing from the road. Your father is still as impulsive as ever, and he doesn't even eat properly, Mother Yao Shan said with a helpless expression. Lin Hui nodded, about to speak, when he suddenly felt an itch on the back of his right hand. A thought struck him, and his eyes fell on the back of his hand. He discovered that the itchy spot was precisely where the blood-red pattern was located. At this moment, the blood-red pattern mark was writhing strangely, as if a liquid crystal screen was embedded in the back of the hand, with the patterns changing and flashing rapidly. What's wrong? The mother asked, puzzled. And nothing. Lin Hui raised his hand and deliberately waved the back of his hand in his mother's line of sight to make sure she couldn't see anything at all. Now his anticipation for the blood seal had reached its peak. This thing awakened along with him, and perhaps it can really help him break through this unstable environment. Gently stroking the bloodstain, he lowered his hand again and returned his attention to the dining table. Here, stop thinking about it, have a chicken leg. His mother Yao Shan just then put a braised chicken leg into his bowl. The light brown chicken leg, plump and juicy with a glistening sheen, rolled briefly in the dark red mixed grain rice before stopping right under Lin Hui's nose. Brush. Just then, the bloodstain on the back of his hand suddenly stopped flashing. The chicken leg in front of him suddenly lit up, glowing red. A small line of text emerged from the right side of the chicken leg in the field of vision. Braised chicken legs, a common food for replenishing Kai and blood. Shelf life 2 days, taste is average. Evolvable branch 2, Lin Hui's eyes widened instantly. He stared intently at the characters before him, the Chinese characters he knew best. The long-lost sense of familiarity caused his emotions to surge suddenly. An evolutionary branch. What can a chicken leg evolve into? He was filled with surprise, as well as confusion and bewilderment. But the changes in the text before our eyes are clearly caused by the bloodstains. His gaze unconsciously focused on the area where the evolutionary branch could be formed. Brush. Another soft sound. The two following the branch opens directly and expands into 2 dashed lines in different directions. One line points upwards, connecting to a new line of red text, 1 purgatory black wind chicken leg. The dotted line below connects to 2 secret recipe chicken leg for extreme cold weather. Lin Hui stared at the 2 lines of dotted lines and fell into deep thought. This chicken leg, even its name sounds a bit unreliable. Lin Hui felt he could already imagine what these 2 kinds of chicken legs might taste like. He then stared intently at the chicken leg, trying to glean further explanation from these 2 branches. Unfortunately, the information about the blood seal seems to end there, with only 2 names provided that are purely speculative. Eat up, why are you daydreaming while eating? Yao Shan, the mother, asked in confusion. Okay, Mom. Lin Hui then looked away, nodded, and started gnawing on a chicken leg. As his gaze shifted, it fell on the chopsticks in front of him, and the bloodstains began to flicker and twist again. New dotted lines began to extend from the edges of the chopsticks. Bamboo chopsticks, ordinary tableware, moderate wear. Can evolve into branch 3, 1 Tianjing bamboo chopsticks, 2 purple and blue thunder bamboo chopsticks, 3 chopsticks and people. Lin Huey stared at the last person with chopsticks and fell into deep thought again. He could guess the meaning of the first two from their literal meanings, but the last one. He tried to consciously imagine the third branch of evolution. Hiss. After a faint sound, all the evolutionary branches in front of them disappeared, and the third branch reappeared and magnified, followed by a series of messages. Will chopstick-wielding humans evolve? Required resources: a pair of bamboo chopsticks and a year's worth of energy reserves. Time required 5 years. So long. Lin Huey was startled and quickly chose no. If you choose this option, you might lose a year's worth of effort. As for what their evolved chopstick-like human will actually be like, that's a pure gamble. After quickly finishing his meal, Lin Huey made an excuse to go out for a walk and left the house. Because of the ghost that broke into the door, there were always tall patrol teams from the government offices coming and going outside. Since it was right at his doorstep, Lin Huey decided to squat down there and test what this newly awakened blood seal could do. First, he squatted down, looked around, and casually picked a blade of grass. Roadside grass, common plant, immature, suitable for livestock farming. Evolutionary branch 2, 1 purgatory bitter spirit grass, 2 straw man. Sure enough, here we go again. This straw figure is no different from the chopstick figure from before, is it? Lin Huey tried selecting the straw figure and immediately saw a waiting time of at least 7 years. He then picked up a stone from the ground and held it in his hand. Sure enough, the stones also branched out in evolution. 1 enhancement stone, 2 stone man. This time he didn't choose the stone golem, but instead chose number 1, their enhancement stone. Evolve enhancement stone. Strengthening stone consumes a fixed amount of stone powder. 2, obtain a slight enhancement to physical constitution. Required resources: 1 stone, 7 days worth of energy reserves. Time required: 1 month. Thankfully, although this one is also long, at least there's hope. The previous one took far too long. Lin Huey breathed a slight sigh of relief. He then put down the stone and replaced it with many other kinds of stones, all of which resulted in similar evolutionary branches. Through continuous testing, he gradually began to understand the function of the blood seal. This thing is an all-purpose enhancer. It can enhance anything and even provide some analytical information. Aside from their excessive consumption, there might be something I haven't explored yet. Lin Huey temporarily shelved his exploration, planning to wait until he went to King Feng Temple and learned real skills and knowledge before trying to add other abilities and skills to enhance it as well. Thinking of this, he raised his head and looked at the flow of people in front of him. The slight depression and worry in his heart before slowly began to fade away after the blood seal's power emerged. The next morning, Lin Shun, the old man, took Lin Huey on an ox cart and drove out of the town. After traveling for more than an hour, the two arrived at a somewhat secluded side road. The ox cart bumped and jolted as it turned onto a side road, finally stopping in front of a gray-white Taoist temple with a circular outer wall. Lin Huey got off the ox cart and looked up at the Taoist temple. King Feng Temple. The 3 large characters are upright and straight, neither ostentatious nor restrained, but rather moderate and peaceful. 2 children dressed in light blue martial arts uniforms were standing at the doorway, each holding a broom and chatting. They only pretended to clean a few times when they saw someone coming. Master Quanchen, is your Master Minged here? Old man Lin Shun got off the ox cart, paid the driver to go first, and said he would come back to pick up the 2 of them later. Then he went up to greet one of the young Taoist boys. It's Uncle He who gives out candied hawthorns. We're here. Master told us to take people in to find him as soon as we see you. The young Taoist on the right, who was wearing a blue hair tie, immediately recognized the person. Then I'll trouble you. Lin Shun smiled and clasped his hands in a fist salute, leading his son and their other party into the Taoist temple gate. Inside the gate was a rather spacious area. On the right was a large incense burner, and on the left were several Taoist priests sitting cross-legged, seemingly meditating and chanting scriptures. Directly in front of the main hall, facing the gate, is a 3-story square building with winged serpent statues curving upwards at every corner. The entire building was painted light red, with some areas showing signs of age and peeling paint. At this moment, footsteps were heard. A tall, burly Taoist priest with a thick beard, dressed in a gray-white Taoist robe and black cloth shoes, came out to greet Lin Shun with a loud laugh. "Brother Shun is here. We've been waiting for you, Brother Minged. We really need your help this time. This is my son, Lin Huey." Lin Shun pulled Lin Huey forward, patted him on the back, and laughed. "He's getting old, so he's looking for something to do. I heard you're short of an accountant who can do math, and my son is definitely up to the task. I brought him here to give it a try. That's easy to say. We have a good relationship, so we'll talk about it once he's in the door. But whether he can actually do anything depends on his performance. After all, the final decision rests with Abbot Bao and senior brother," Ming said with a smile. That's right, that's right." The two exchanged pleasantries as they entered. Lin Huey greeted the other party politely and then followed them through the gate. Inside the main hall of the Taoist temple was a headless statue missing arms and legs. There were no offerings in front of the statue, which showed that this place was not a real Taoist temple, but a martial arts school disguised as a Taoist temple. Soon Lin Huey was settled in a side room on one side of the hall to wait. The father and the Taoist priest Minged went to process his entry into the temple. The room wasn't big, but it had a bookshelf and a set of tables and chairs. With nothing to do, Lin Huey asked a passing Taoist priest outside and was told that he could freely browse the bookshelves. So he went to the bookshelves, randomly picked out a copy of the Wu Wei Jing classic of non-action, and began to read it slowly. To act without acting is to act. To act is to do what is necessary. Not acting is not an action, but rather a deliberate and purposeful action. The scripture was convoluted, and he found it boring after flipping through a few pages, so he closed the scripture and was about to put it back. Hiss. Just then, that familiar soft sound came again. Lin Huey's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly took the scripture back and examined it carefully. The Sutra of Non-Action, writ by an anonymous Taoist. It forms the core doctrine of the Taoist path of non-birth. Potential branch 4 Evolution 3. 1. The Sutra of Purgatory without action. 2. The Ninefold Compassion Sutra. 3. The Invisible and Wordless Scripture. Looking at these three evolutionary branches, Lin Huey narrowed his eyes and randomly selected the Purgatory Wu Wei Scripture to open. Is it possible to evolve the Purgatory of Non-Action Sutra? Required resources: 1 copy of the Wu Wei Jing, a classic text on non-action, and 12 years of accumulated energy. Time required: 15 years. The longest time in history. Lin Huey's heart skipped a beat. Unfortunately, there's no way to see what the purpose of this scripture is. He put the scriptures back in their place and then glanced at the rest of the books on the shelf. Aside from scriptures, there were various travelogues, but soon he pulled out a different one from the corner. The Sword of Sealing the Heart. The book is thin, only 9 pages long. The bottom right corner of the cover has an author's mark, indicating that it was writ by a Taoist named Mingson. Lin Huey flipped through a few pages. It talked about how to make a person have a profound awakening, completely seal the desires in their heart, and thus enter the Tao and embark on the true path of pursuing immortality. After flipping through it, Lin Huey was somewhat surprised to find that it contained many specific details on how to verbally induce and guide others. This is already considered basic hypnotic psychology, right? He refocused his attention on the book. Immediately, a new dotted line extends from the right side of the light blue cover of the heart-sealing sword. The gray dashed lines connect the small pieces of information. The heart-sealing sword, a fundamental scripture of the once glorious Fengtian sect, widely circulated, writ by the Taoist Mingson. It can evolve into branch 2, there's not much to say. Lin Huey clicked on the evolution branch. 1 Feng Yuan Jing, 2 Sealing Light Spell. Seeing this, Lin Huey sighed. Just looking at the name without any specific description of their effects, he wouldn't dare to choose it at all, since it often takes years to consume. To date, he still hasn't fully figured out what the purpose of this bloodstain is. Maybe when I'm stronger and have more energy, I'll be able to short the evolution time. Knock, knock, knock. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Brother Lin Huey, your father and Uncle Minged want you to go to the inner hall. A somewhat immature male voice came from inside. Understood. Lin Huey walked over, opened the door, and stood a handsome young Taoist boy with a top knot. This is our first meeting. My name is Huishan. From now on, I will be the one to show you around and guide your learning. Dao Tongji was about 13 or 14 years old, much younger than Lin Hui. But his speech and mannerisms were quite mature. Looking at Lin Hui opening the door, he gave a gentle smile, a smile clearly imitated from other adults, making him appear somewhat overly mature. "Greetings, senior brother Huishan," Lin Hui quickly bowed. "Let's go, I look forward to your guidance from now on," Hui Shen said with a smile, turning around to lead the way. For Lin Hui, joining Qingfeng Temple was very simple. He relied on the connections of Ming Taoist, a highly skilled monk within the temple who was very familiar with his father, Lin Shun. The entire Qingfeng Temple has a very simple structure. After Lin Hui spent several days exploring it, he roughly understood the specific situation. The highest-ranking person was only one person, namely Abbot Baya and the Taoist. Then there are the supervisors in charge, a total of 3 Mingchen, Mingde, and Mingxiu. The 3 of them take turns managing the temple's logistics, teaching, and external affairs. In essence, Qingfeng Temple is still a profit-making institution whose main income comes from teaching basic external martial arts. In addition, it has a small medicinal garden on the back mountain of the temple, where it cultivates a precious medicinal herb called Shixingjin. These 2 things easily support all their expenses of the temple. After joining the group, Lin Hui quickly became familiar with the daily routine and work under Hui Shen's guidance. Ming assigned him some basic arithmetic problems and soon found that he did them very easily, so he gradually began to give him more and more problems. While familiarizing himself with their environment and work, Lin Hui also studied his newly awakened blood mark. A week has passed in the blink of an eye. Inside Qingfeng Temple, the training ground behind the main hall, a row of teenagers dressed in gray short-sleeved shirts stood in neat rows, holding short branches, waiting for the Taoist priest in front of them to teach them martial arts. I am Mingxiu, and I am also the Taoist priest who is specifically responsible for teaching you and others the basic sword techniques. The Taoist priest had a handsome face and a burly figure, giving off a strange contrast, like a scholar's head pressed against a bear. He was dressed in a dark blue Taoist robe and carried a slender iron sword in his hand. The sword's blade was gleaming silver and looked quite expensive. "Most of you come from poor families. You come here to pay for martial arts lessons so that you can run faster than others when you encounter danger. Everyone knows that the martial arts of Qingfeng Temple are #1 in speed in their entire Xinyu town. This is the premise for you to come here to learn martial arts." He paused, his gaze sweeping over the 24 teenagers before him. He paused slightly, especially when his eyes swept over the 2 newcomers in the corner. One of the men had a square face and a resolute gaze. The other had ordinary features and was unremarkable. The person behind him is Lin Hui from the Lin family, who has been here for a week. During this week, Lin Hui did not start practicing martial arts. Instead, under Hui Shen's arrangement, he did some basic physical training tasks, such as chopping wood, fetching water, and carrying heavy objects. After a week, Lin Hui clearly felt that his physical strength had improved a lot. Although his arms and legs were still sore, at least his spirits were much better. He had been staying in a dormitory-style room during this period. Hui Shen had originally planned to arrange a single room for him, but Lin Hui refused. He doesn't intend to break away from the crowd and act eccentrically, as that would be too conspicuous. At this moment, he looked around at the other people who had come to learn martial arts together. "So many people our age are here to learn martial arts?" he asked, somewhat surprised. "Of course, who wouldn't want to learn to run fast? It doesn't cost much anyway," the determined-looking boy replied casually. His name was Chen Jishan, a name that unconsciously reminded Lin Hui of Lu Jishan, although his personality was completely opposite to Lu Jishan's. This guy had an incredibly strong will. Because he shared a large dormitory room with Lin Hui, their mats were right next to each other, and they knew each other well. That's how Lin Hui knew that this guy would get up and start training every day before dawn, as soon as the fog lifted. He did everything running, fetching water, chopping wood. He also helped Lin Hui with a lot of work. Considering that the other party's family was not well off, Lin Hui secretly shared 1/3 of his food with the other party. Anyway, he had money and food from his family, And his family was much better off than the other parties, so he didn't need this. As they spent more time together, their relationship quickly warmed up. But don't be fooled by the large number of people here. Many of them only come once every few days to learn, and then go back to practice on their own. After all, they still have to work and earn money. There are only about 10 people like us who stand here and practice all day long. There must be 3 such large classes a day, with about 20 people each time, totaling 70 or 80 people, making a total of about 10 people. Lin Huey raised an eyebrow. Yes, I've been here longer than you, so I can see clearly. There are only about 10 people, maybe a dozen or so, but I'm not good at math, so I can't count them, Chen Jishin replied in a low voice. Look at those 3 people standing in front. Lin Huey glanced at them and saw that, although the 3 were dressed the same as those around them, their workmanship was noticeably better in the details. The 3 individuals consisted of 2 men and 1 woman. Judging from their skin, facial features, and hair, it was clear that they came from well-off families. Those 3 are the best martial artists in the temple. The men are senior brother Chen Sui and second senior brother Zhao Jiang'an. The woman is senior sister Mu Kaiaji. They are all the eldest sons of top wealthy families in the surrounding towns. Chen Sui is a distant relative of a branch of the Chen family. You know how powerful the Chen family is. Zhao Jiang'an's Zhao family is the largest business in his Kaiman town. Senior sister Mu Kaiaji's family is in the medicinal herb business, and the supply of medicinal herbs for 7 or 8 surrounding towns depends entirely on her family. Chen Jishin may seem honest, but his ability to gather information far surpasses Lin Huey's. Then why would they come here to learn? Lin Huey didn't finish his sentence. Qingfeng Temple is, after all, just a place for learning external martial arts. Compared to the 3 major schools in the inner city, these people clearly have the ability to enter the top 3. Why? Naturally, they were screened out. Chen Jishin shook his head. He lowered his voice. I don't know the specifics of their other 2. I just heard that senior sister Mu Kaiaji was disappointed because her aptitude was much lower, and she didn't want to just coast through life in the industry, so she decided to only learn survival skills and mainly run business for her family in the future. Lin Huey wanted to ask more questions, but at that moment, the Taoist Minxiu jumped onto the wooden platform and looked down at everyone. Our Qingfeng Temple may not be good at fighting, but when it comes to self-defense, it's undeniable. Today, I'll teach you the temple's basic swordsmanship, which is also the prerequisite and foundation for learning the lightness technique. It's called 7-section swift sword. This sword technique mainly consists of 7 moves. The moves require the coordinated training of all the muscles in the body. It is mainly used to temper the body and cannot be used in actual combat. Everyone must pay attention to this. Next, Taoist Minxiu began to explain and demonstrate the specifics of the 7-section quick sword. The crowd listened intently, and Lin Huey and Chen Jishin also focused their attention. After all, they had been training hard for a week, and they were eager to receive martial arts instruction, so naturally they didn't want to miss it. To achieve speed, sword techniques should primarily rely on footwork. Although you're holding a sword, your real focus should be on your feet. Powering your escape involves pushing off with the balls of your feet, tensing your calves, and simultaneously swinging your sword to increase your perceived danger. This will cause your pursuers to abandon you and choose other, easier prey. Master Minxiu explained in great detail, and Lin Huey listened with frequent nods. But he didn't get to listen for long. Suddenly, a familiar soft sound echoed in my mind. Hiss. Bloodstain. The bloodstain moved again. But this time it was completely different from before. A line of small characters suddenly appeared out of thin air below Lin Huey's field of vision. 7-section swift sword, a basic sword technique from Qingfeng Temple. Upon mastery, it grants the special effect of lightness of movement. It can evolve into branch 2, 9-section swift sword, 2 gentle breeze sword technique. Both the 9-section quick sword and the Qingfeng sword technique are legitimate martial arts of the Qingfeng Temple, and Lin Huey had heard of them. He never expected that he could evolve them using only the 7-section quick sword. This blood seal is truly heaven-defying. But what use would it be if it evolved directly? Does it mean I can learn it immediately after evolution? Lin Huey shook his head inwardly. Clicking on the evolution branch, sure enough, it again showed the required time in years. But suddenly, a flash of inspiration struck him. Wait, since the evolution time is too long, why don't I just try one with a shorter evolution time? Previously, the items I tried to evolve required years, but based on my observations, smaller items require less time to evolve. If I were to continue subdividing. Thinking about this, Lin Huey, who had been clueless for so long, finally grasped an idea. At this moment, he stared intently at the Taoist Minxiu on the stage, while trying to concentrate on imagining the first move of the 7-section swift sword climbing the mountain and gazing into the distance. Yes, that was his plan to break down the sword techniques into individual moves and use the blood seal to evolve them. Sure enough, a minute later, a new line of blood-red text appeared below his field of vision. 7-section quick sword technique. First move ascending to a high place and gazing afar. This move is the foundation of the 7-section quick sword. With repeated practice and mastery, one can quickly master the third move, winding pine trees. Evolution attempts 1. Lin Huey quickly clicked on the number of evolution attempts. 1. Climb to a high place and look out over the mountains. Without pausing, he continued to click on the climbing high and gazing at the mountain video. As it evolved to climb high and look out over mountains, required resources 1 wooden sword, 60 days of stamina reserves. Time required 60 days. It only took 60 days, but it really works. Lin Huey finally breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that he seemed to have finally found the correct way to activate the blood seal's power. As it evolved to climb high and look out over mountains, at this moment, Bloodstain's question reappeared. Yes, this time. Lin Huey did not hesitate at all and immediately chose yes. Hiss. Instantly, the bloodstain on the back of his hand flashed red light and changed from a rhombus to a circle. Everything then fell silent. At that moment, Lin Huey suddenly felt a numbness all over his body and felt his strength slightly diminish. It wasn't much, but it was quite obvious that something had suddenly devoured a portion of my strength. At this moment, Taoist Minxiu on the stage had finished demonstrating all the sword moves and was gesturing for the others to come forward and ask questions. After the questioning ended, he stepped down from the stage and began to quickly adjust the way his disciples held their swords, as well as their footwork, on a one-on-one basis. After observing for a while and confirming that the blood seal's absorption of energy had no effect on him, Lin Huey focused intently on Minxiu's instructions and adjusted his posture. He can't rely solely on the blood seal. He still has to work hard for many things himself otherwise. After the sword techniques were taught, life quickly returned to its previous monotonous and repetitive routine. 2 weeks have passed since Lin Huey arrived at Qingfeng Temple. He successfully learned the 7-section fast sword from Minxiu. But he only grasped the basics and was completely unaware of many details. Since everyone was practicing in the same place, he observed, evaluated, and compared the techniques himself, based on his understanding and memory of the sword moves. There were more than 60 students in Qingfeng Temple, and he was considered to be below average. It took him a week to memorize a set of 7 quick sword techniques, but some students memorized them completely in just 2 days. This is purely a difference in talent. But that's okay. He's not particularly talented, so there's nothing to worry about. As long as he studies hard and practices diligently, he can always make up for the gap. So Lin Huey started training with Chen Zhishan every day, increasing the amount of training he did. But, Junior Brother Lin, how's your mastery of the 7-section fast sword technique coming along? As evening fell, Lin Huey was practicing on his own in a corner of the field when Huey Shen, who had been guiding him, appeared beside him, smiling as he watched Lin Huey practice diligently. I've barely managed to memorize it. My aptitude isn't very good, so I can only make up for it by practicing more, Lin Huey said helplessly, putting down the twigs and sticks in his hand. Don't rush it. Martial arts skills cannot be mastered overnight. Your father is Steward Lin, so he won't need to use these lightness skills often in the future, Huey Shen said with a smile. What you say is true, but I just want to master it myself so I can feel at ease. Lin Huey shook his head, stretched his joints, and walked up to the other person. What brings you here today, senior brother? Your father sent you a message. He said the troublemaker outside the city has been caught. He told you not to worry, Huey Shen said. The ghost that broke in has been caught. Lin Huey was taken aback. Well, according to the investigation report, there weren't actually any gate-breaking ghosts. They were actually bodyguards from 2 major clans in the inner city, who were investigating the whereabouts of a valuable item and committed several atrocities. I said before, we're close to the fog-free zone. It's not that easy for gate-breaking ghosts to get in here. Huey Shen's smile faded. And what was their result? Lin Huey breathed a sigh of relief and pressed for an answer. Their result? What result? Huey Shen was also stunned. Those 2 powerful families, Lin Huey added. They were warned, and they are not allowed to continue like this. They even compensated their affected portals with some money, Huey Shen replied. That's it, Lin Huey was stunned. Yes. What else do you want? Huey Shen looked at him strangely. Lin Huey had originally thought that the 2 major clans would receive even harsher punishments, but... By the way, Uncle Ming asked me to ask you, have you ever eaten wanfu meat since you were a child? Huey Shen continued to ask. No. What's wrong? Lin Huey thought carefully and confirmed that he hadn't eaten. Then don't eat it anymore. Although it's effective, it's addictive, Huey Shen said in a low voice. Addicted? Lin Huey's heart skipped a beat. Yes. And eating too much can affect your brain, and you'll be thinking about sleeping with other women all the time. Just be careful, Huey Shen said, then looked around and quickly left. Lin Huey was left alone, his heart pounding with fear at the content of these words. Wanfu meat, there is such a secret. As dusk approached, Lin Huey put away the wooden stick, wiped his sweat with a towel, and walked quickly towards the dormitory. The large communal sleeping area is located on the right side of the martial arts training ground. At first glance, it looks like a blackened large intestine laid horizontally on the ground. The lines on their outside of the large intestine are like individual rooms. Each room can sleep up to 10 people. Lin Huey lived in a relatively clean and well-ventilated room on the far right. At this moment, he pushed open the door and entered, glancing at the jade talisman hanging on the wall. The rest of the people in the room had returned. 2 were playing cards, while the others were silently gesturing with small wooden sticks in their respective positions, most of them looking focused and serious. Huey, you're back. Chen Jishan looked over, got up, and approached. You weren't here just now, and some people were talking about how the senior monks at the temple caught a monster during the day. You didn't see it, those monsters' claws. One of its arms was at least as tall as one of us. He looked somewhat excited and somewhat agitated. After all, most people living in the city have never seen what a monster looks like. The monsters in those rumors are almost all hidden in the fog outside, shrouded in mystery. Legend has it that they are cruel, savage, and insane, and possess unimaginable poisons and diseases. The vast fog completely separated them from humanity, as if they were 2 different worlds. A monster. I've been practicing martial arts all day and haven't paid attention to anything else. Lin Huey's curiosity was also piqued. To be honest, even though he grew up in Xinyu Town and Outer City, he had never seen a monster. Those monsters rarely seemed to venture into the city limits. They only attacked pioneers, caravans, and messengers who ventured into the fog-shrouded area. However, most of the pioneers were death row inmates who had committed serious crimes. And only large trading companies had their ability to build intercity caravans. As for messengers, they were top-tier figures that ordinary people could hardly imagine. Those who can travel between major cities alone are definitely top-tier elite experts. It is said that the monster is over 4 meters tall, covered in black scales, with no eyes or nostrils, only a huge mouth that takes up their entire face. It is very terrifying, Chen Jishan said in a low voice. You've been reading too many storybooks, and that's just your imagination, a thin man with glasses said sarcastically. What storybook? I saw with my own eyes Uncle Ming dragging that monster past the Taoist temple, and then being taken away by the government officials. There were no more than 10 people who saw the whole thing, and I was one of them, Chen Jishan said indignantly. Do you know what other way out there is for us martial artists, besides being guards and bodyguards? Or have you ever thought about why monster corpses appear in the fogless zone, where even monsters dare not enter? Why would Uncle Ming drag monster corpses here for no reason? The skinny man pushed up his glasses and asked in a low voice. Why? Chen Jishan was taken aback. He hadn't really thought about these questions. He was just an ordinary farm boy who barely knew any characters, and his greatest knowledge came from this Qingfeng temple. Lin Hui, who was standing nearby, was also drawn to the other person's words. Not only him, but also several other students in the temple who were nearby quietly focused their attention on the skinny man. Finding that his topic had garnered attention, the skinny guy became quite pleased with himself. Without further ado, he rubbed his nose and said, "Because the main force in exploring the mist has always been us martial artists," he sighed. "The three major powers in the inner city, as well as the major powers in the surrounding districts, are all exploring the fog zone. Although there are monsters in the fog zone, there are also various rare medicinal herbs, precious mineral deposits, and even mysterious ruins and treasures. Ruins. Isn't the fog zone uninhabitable?" A gentle-looking young man couldn't help but ask. "No one lives here now. Some places used to be fog-free zones, but they became fog zones for various reasons later," the skinny man said mysteriously in a low voice. "Moreover, I heard my uncle say that the most common relics in the fog zones are not actually left by us humans, but by other unknown creatures. Unknown creature." These words immediately piqued the interest of all the teenagers around. Unknown creatures can leave behind relics. Does that mean they, like us humans, can build houses, grow crops, raise livestock, and eat meat? The boy who had asked the question earlier continued. "I don't know, but it should be, otherwise how could they have left behind these ruins?" The skinny man laughed. Seeing that more and more people were gathering around him, he became even more interested and began to describe in detail how he learned about these things. It turns out that his uncle was once one of the martial artists who went out to explore the foggy area. He was very strong, but he was seriously injured and disabled during many explorations. In the end, he could only rely on his savings to live at home and wait to die. This information about the foggy area was told to him by his uncle as stories in his spare time. Lin Hui listened intently, completely absorbed. He had never encountered anything like this before. Through the skinny man's words, his understanding of the world seemed to be slowly unveiled. According to the other party, this world is not just home to humans, but also to many other humanoid races and non-humanoid races. Some of these humanoid groups had already secretly infiltrated the fog-free zone within the city, living there under assumed identities. Other groups would engage in friendly trade with humans and even intermarry and breed. These were not particularly secretive within the inner city. Finally, as the fog outside grew thicker and thicker, it was time to turn off the lights. The skinny guy summed it up in one sentence. All right, enough of this. My mouth is dry from talking so much. And I haven't even paid for tea. If you're really interested, you can go to Rift Town on the edge of the city when you have time. It's said that there's a military garrison there, because a humanoid race called the Cloud Clan usually appears there. Many of the residents of Rift Town are of mixed blood with the Cloud Clan, Cracktown. Lin Hui secretly memorized the place name. Cool. After blowing out the oil lamp, everyone lay down in their places, but no matter who they were all excited by what the skinny man had just said and couldn't fall asleep at all. Lin Hui was the same. He kept replaying everything the skinny man had described in his mind. His impression of the foggy area gradually changed from a dangerous wasteland to one where danger and opportunity coexisted. Nothing was said that night, except for the constant howling wind outside, which made the door creak and rattle. The next day, as soon as it was light, most of the boys in the room got up, including Lin Hui. As usual, I fetched water, chopped wood, and then practiced my sword. It was almost noon when he finished practicing, but this time he had different plans. After hearing the skinny man's story yesterday, Lin Hui decided to go to the edge of the fog-free zone during the day to take a look himself. If it were the old Xinyu town, he wouldn't have been able to travel that far. But this is Qingfeng Temple, which is close to the edge of the fog-free zone, and there's a small path through the fog that caravans often pass by, so he could actually make the round trip on foot. Having made up his mind, Lin Hui immediately returned to his dormitory, packed his things on the large communal bed, took his water bag, checked the direction, and decisively headed out of the side gate of the Taoist temple. To the north of the Taoist temple lies their enormous city of Taiyu. To the south, a vast expanse of gray-white mist stretches out. Exiting through the side door, the distance to the edge of the mist is less than 300 meters. Lin Hui went out through the side door, found a big tree, climbed up, and surveyed the terrain from above. The shortest route from here to the border is along the small river next to the Taoist temple. This river is called Chang, which means intestine as it is. It originates in Xinyu town, outside the city, meanders all the way to Qingfeng Temple, then passes through a lush forest, and finally enters a vast and endless fog. Lin Hui's departure did not attract their attention of the gatekeeper boys, since these students usually did nothing more than chop wood. The temple's monks and elders often patrol the area to avoid any risks. As for the monsters that break into the gate, at least so far, they haven't seen any monsters actively break into the fog-free zone. Carrying a water bag, Lin Hui, dressed in a gray short-sleeved shirt and holding a sharpened wooden stick, strode quickly along a vague path toward the foggy area. The sky was overcast and gloomy, with thick clouds and howling winds, threatening rain at any moment. Lin Hui walked alone on the overgrown forest path. All around were thick, straight gray-black trees. The lush dark green grass and shrubs, reaching half a person's height, completely concealed the surrounding area except for the path. Click, click. Lin Hui carefully made his way forward, and soon, following the path, he gradually saw the gray mist emerging from the woods ahead. The thick gray fog, like a wall, connected the sky and the earth, cutting through the forest. At the same time, Lin Hui stopped in his tracks because he saw an old man in a black Taoist robe sitting cross-legged at the foot of a large tree by the roadside. The old man had a kind face, white hair and beard, a sturdy build, and carried a long, black sword on his back. Hearing footsteps, he slowly narrowed his eyes and looked at Lin Hui. Every few days, some curious kids come to see what's so special. Can't you guys just stay quiet for a bit? Lin Hui noticed the pattern on the old Taoist's robe. It was the style of Qingfeng Temple, indicating that the old man was stationed there specifically to maintain security. He immediately stepped forward and bowed respectfully to the other party. Disciple Lin Hui greets Master. I am Mingchen. Although there are few monsters coming and going in this place, it's best not to come looking for trouble. If you enter the fog zone, you will surely die a gruesome death, the old Taoist priest warned. This disciple understands. I was merely curious and intended to observe from the side. I will absolutely not go in, Lin Hui replied earnestly. This was his thought, and this was his action. Otherwise, they wouldn't have specifically chosen a path trodden by predecessors. That's good. Go back after you've finished reading. Old Taoist Mingchen nodded, stopped looking in this direction, and continued to sit in meditation with his eyes closed. The rustling wind made the leaves whisper in the wind. A few leaves occasionally drifted down from above their heads. Lin Hui stared intently at the wall of mist not far away, his eyes trying to see through the fog to see what was inside. Swish! He vaguely saw a gray shadow, taller than a person, flash through the mist at great speed. May I ask, sir, why don't the monsters in this foggy area enter our area? Lin Hui asked softly. Old Taoist Mingchen remained motionless, as if he hadn't heard anything. Seeing this, Lin Hui knew that the other party had no intention of paying attention to him. After a moment of silence, he glanced around and felt that running back like this would be pointless. So he simply picked up a sharp wooden stick and vigorously scratched a line of words on a tree trunk to the side. Lin Hui was here. Mingchen heard the noise, opened his eyes, and was immediately speechless. After finishing this, Lin Hui turned around, intending to go back. But after taking only 2 steps, he bent down again and picked up a piece of dark purple material from the grass on the ground. The fragment was cold to the touch, and seemed to have fallen from the edge of some kind of equipment. After receiving the souvenir, Lin Hui hurriedly returned to the Taoist temple, satisfied. Seeing this, the old Taoist priest Mingchen was speechless once again. Those fragments were merely remnants of skin and horns left behind by monsters from the foggy area during their nighttime incursions. Utterly worthless. This kid picked them up and acted like they were treasures. Time flies by in the blink of an eye. Lin Hui followed the plan step by step, practicing the 7-section fast sword every day at Qingfeng Temple. His proficiency increased rapidly, and his physical strength and reaction speed also gradually improved with hard work. Although he had promised his parents he wouldn't train too hard, once Lin Hui actually saw the foggy area and the strange shadows that flashed by inside, his sense of security, which had just begun to settle down, was disrupted again. He briefly simulated the shadow he saw in the fog rushing towards him, wondering if he could react in time. The simulation results immediately motivated him to practice even harder. As time went by, in addition to his own hard work in gradually mastering the 7-section fast sword moves, Blood Seal's evolution of the first move of this fast sword, looking far from the top, was also coming to an end. Early morning in the backyard of Qingfeng Temple, at the martial arts training ground. Each student and disciple held a wooden stick and found an empty space to practice sword moves repeatedly. Some people could clearly see that their posture was slightly crooked, but most people were relatively skilled and practiced this sword technique, which looked like a health exercise repeatedly. Lin Hui found a spot next to a wooden stake and repeatedly practiced the first move, climbing high to look far, by spinning the wooden stick in his hand. He suddenly felt a surge of excitement. With the evolution of the blood seal approaching, he was wondering how the blood seal would demonstrate its evolutionary effects. It now appears to be a method that induces the body to spontaneously undergo changes, ultimately leading to a qualitative transformation. Swish! The wooden stick accelerated faster and faster in his hands. Although it was just repeating the first move, there were very few students who could reach this speed and be so precise. However, it was still dark at this time, and it was only just dawn. Many people were so engrossed in their practice that they didn't notice the details here at all. Soon, about 3 minutes later, Lin Hui stopped holding the wooden stick. He slowly withdrew from his stance, stood upright, and quietly adjusted his breathing. Just then, the bloodstain on the back of his hand flashed and changed from a circle back to its previous diamond shape. A surge of indescribable insights and sword training experience quickly flooded into Lin Hui's mind. His body trembled, and he fell into a kind of special enlightenment. A vast amount of memory about their advantages and disadvantages of the first move, climbing high to see far, as well as methods for improvement, optimization, and even trial and error flooded into his mind. It was as if he himself had spent many years trying and failing, gradually perfecting and optimizing this sword technique to perfection. Several dozen breaths later, Lin Hui slowly raised his hand again, and the wooden stick drew a perfect arc forward with incredible agility. Then it turned downwards and then tilted upwards diagonally. His footwork also changed accordingly, and it was all natural and harmonious. It's done, Lin Hui felt a strange sense of certainty. Although the move he just used was still about climbing high and looking far. It was at an absolutely perfect level, so it can be called climbing high and looking at the mountain. Furthermore, as he mastered this perfect sword move, he gained a considerable understanding of the other fast sword moves that followed. Fast sword, so that's how it's fast. The 7-section fast sword technique essentially relies on muscle power accumulation. The first 6 strikes are like a constantly tightening spring, only entering a state of readiness for the final strike. This entire sword technique doesn't actually unleash a killing move. Clearly, the killing move is reserved for another sword technique. Lin Hui realized that after practicing for 2 months, when he looked back at the moves practiced by the other students, they all looked crooked and distorted, full of mistakes. Hui, why are you practicing here all by yourself? Suddenly, a familiar voice drifted from behind. It's Transition. He yawned and slowly approached, carrying a wooden stick. Why didn't you call me when you were practicing swordsmanship? His progress was actually similar to Lin Hui's, which is also the progress of most students and disciples in the 7-section quick sword. This sword technique is a training method, not a fighting method. The power generation hidden within it is extremely complex and requires training to develop more than 50 power generation points in the body. If any one of these 50 points of force application is incorrect, their effect will be greatly diminished. However, once you have fully mastered this sword technique and correctly applied all the points of force application, the tempering of your body will officially begin. For an average student to start from scratch and fully master all the power generation techniques and completely learn this swordsmanship, it would take at least 3 years. This is only a rough understanding and mastery. When practicing alone, if you can get a good point of force even once in 10 times, you should be thankful. This is also why many students eventually give up and quietly leave. After all, mastering the skills is one thing, but it's not always possible to consistently complete a good practice session. Lin Hui calculated the time he would need. With his hard work and the evolution of the blood seal, he would only need about a year to fully master it, and even then to master it perfectly. Furthermore, he discovered a formidable point during his practice. That is, after he completed his evolution and ascended to the top of the mountain, every time he practiced this move, it was perfect without the slightest mistake. That incredibly smooth feeling, without thinking, without hesitation, everything was executed naturally. He knew exactly what this meant. "What did you do last night? You look so listless." Coming to his senses, Lin Hui looked at Chen Jishan. "Don't even mention it. I had dreams all night long." "My dreams were full of." Chen Jishan's cheeks flushed and he didn't finish his sentence. "How's your swordsmanship?" Lin Hui asked, speechless, changing the subject. He knew that the other person had recently become very close to a new female student. The two had been going back and forth and helping each other with small favors over the past few days, and were gradually getting to know each other. "Not bad. I feel like it won't be long before I completely master all the sword moves. As for the PowerPoints, I've already figured them out. I got 4 right a few days ago." Chen Jishan's attitude became serious when he talked about practicing swordsmanship. "Not bad," Lin Hui nodded. "That's nothing. Wang Shan and Qiu Yi are truly amazing. One mastered it completely in a week, and the other only took 4 days. I really don't know how these geniuses' brains work," Chen Jishan sighed. Lin Hui remained silent. He had watched these 2 newly arrived geniuses practice their swordsmanship. They were newcomers who had only joined in the last half-month. In a very short time, he perfectly mastered all the sword moves of the 7-section fast sword, and the accuracy of his power application reached more than 80%, which was simply terrifying. Compared to that, his bloodstains are as slow as a snail's pace. With another sigh, Lin Hui stopped thinking about it. At least the biggest advantage of the blood seal was that once it was correct, it would keep being correct. During the test just now, the terrifying accuracy rate was even more mechanical than a machine. Although I started slowly, I caught up much faster later on. He comforted himself with this thought. After chatting for a few minutes, the two practiced swordsmanship together again. Aside from taking breaks to drink water and use the restroom, the two of them didn't stop for a moment. Before we knew it, it was noon, and the logistics staff brought up various meals in large buckets. Thick dark red mixed grain rice, large chunks of braised pork ribs, and various green wild vegetables and sliced brown mushrooms cooked together in a soup. Meals were served in a special canteen on the side, with rows of wooden benches that resembled the university canteen in Lin Hui's previous life. At this moment, men and women began to walk inside. Many students from well-off families formed small groups around the eldest brother Chen Sui and the second brother Zhao Jiang'an. Senior sister Mu Kaiaji doesn't come here often. You only see her occasionally. In addition, several smaller groups have teamed up with the newly emerging geniuses Huang Shan and Qiu Yiren. The rest of the people sat down in 2s and 3s and waited for their meals. The meals were prepared by a designated person, carrying a large ladle and a wooden bucket, going from one person to another and filling each person's meal with a ladle. Lin Hui had been sitting with Chen Jishan, but this time, he had just sat down and was about to greet Chen Jishan when he saw that the guy had come to sit opposite him with a girl with shoulder-length hair. The two of them had flushed faces and were talking about something with their heads down. "It's only been a few days. You haven't even mastered your swordsmanship yet. And you still have the mind to talk about love." Lin Hui was speechless. Despite this, Chen Jishan was not affected much, and he continued to practice his swordsmanship on time and in the required amount these past few days. Without his friends to chat with, Lin Hui ate much faster than usual. Plus, having mastered the perfect first move, climbing high to view the mountain, He could now practice all 8 points of force application for that move flawlessly. This put him in a great mood, and his appetite improved considerably. He finished a large bowl of rice, gnawed on 7 or 8 pieces of ribs, and then spent money to order an extra portion of meat to continue eating. While I was eating my second portion, when it was about 70–80% done, a commotion and shouting suddenly came from not far away. This was accompanied by shouts and groans from the trainees. Lin Hui frowned and quickly looked up. In one corner of the cafeteria, 2 groups of people were engaged in a fierce confrontation around a bucket of vegetables. One of the girls in the group was clutching her buttocks, her face flushed, glaring angrily at a tall, grinning boy opposite her. The boy laughed while making a kneading motion with his hands. People on both sides were cursing and pushing each other. To avoid being caught in the crossfire, Lin Hui quickly got up, stopped eating, and stepped back to keep his distance. Chen Jishan also hid there with the young girl he had just met. It was Huang Shan who got his butt pinched. Who's so bold? Huang Shan is so talented, the teachers must be watching him right, a little girl whispered. It's that guy Chen Chong. He's harassed quite a few pretty girls in the temple. As for his high talent, what use is it to him given his Chen family background? Even though he's a distant relative, he's still part of the Chen family, Chen Jishan said, frowning. After explaining, he quickly introduced Lin Hui and the girl. The girl's name was Liu Beihua. She came from a family of herbal medicine farmers. She had a pretty and delicate appearance. Although she was a bit thin, her personality suited Chen Jishan's taste. Huang Shen might suffer a loss, but the boys next to her are not from ordinary backgrounds. They dare to confront Chen Chong head-on, so they must have some confidence. Let's stay away and not get involved, Chen Jishan reminded. If Chen Chong is so arrogant, don't the elders in the temple care? Liu Beihua couldn't help but ask. How can we manage this? Qingfeng Temple can't afford to offend the Chen family either. There's nothing we can do. Chen Jishan shook his head. But this time it's Huang Shan. What if it were a girl without talent or background? Liu Beihua asked worriedly. Chen Jishan remained silent for a moment. We can only hide now. I heard from a senior student before that 2 female students were harassed by Chen Chong 2 years ago. After they went home, one of them managed to escape, but the other was seen near Chen Chong's house by someone. She was acting crazy and was no longer human. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Lin Hui clearly saw Liu Beihua's eyes tight, and her face turned pale. She was clearly worried about herself. It's all right, don't worry. Even if you dress up a little ugly or dirty. Chen Chong won't pay any attention to you, Chen Jishan comforted him. Lin Hui didn't say anything, but just sighed and turned to leave. Back in the dormitory, lying on his own bed, he silently focused his attention on the second move of the 7-section swift sword 100 turns and 1,000 twists. 100 twists and 1,000 turns, the second move of the 7-section swift sword, one of the basic sword techniques, contains 8 points of force. Upon mastery, it allows for accelerated training of the 6th move. Evolutionary Branch 1, 1,000 thoughts, 100 turns. Has it evolved through countless twists and turns? Required resources 1 wooden sword, 60 days of stamina reserves. Time required 60 days. Having made the choice, Lin Hui recalled Chen Jishan and Liu Beihua's fear and worry today, and Chen Chong's arrogant, long, thin face. It seems that sometimes just running fast isn't enough. Even if Huang Shan ran away, she still had her parents and family, so there was nothing she could do. The incident involving Huang Shan was just a minor, accidental episode that quickly passed. As time went by, another month passed in the blink of an eye. This time, many people mastered the complete sword technique, and some even fully grasped the 8 points of force exertion in the first move. As for those he couldn't control, Lin Hui personally watched as the Taoist boys in the temple notified them one by one to go home and not to come back anymore. This includes that skinny student who used to boast and talk big. Upon receiving the notification, the skinny man's already somewhat uneasy expression immediately collapsed. After he goes back, he will probably only be able to take the most difficult and arduous path. Perhaps he will become the lowest-level fog explorer, or do the hardest and dirtiest work, or even work as a farmer on the edge of the fog area. After 3 months of living together, Everyone in the dormitory had developed some affection for each other. Chen Jishin and the others saw him off. Before leaving, they agreed to visit the skinny man when they had the chance, but they all knew that this when they had the chance might be forever. Lin Hui didn't go. Apart from being close to Chen Jishin, he wasn't familiar with the others. He went to his usual spot to continue practicing his sword, just like always. He has now figured out the function of the blood seal. As long as the evolution is confirmed, he can fully master their evolved abilities by expending energy and time. All he needs to do is put in a little effort and time each day. It's as if he doesn't need to work hard or practice. He can just lie down and become stronger over time. But Lin Hui believes that although one can become stronger even while lying down, the purpose of sword practice is not just to learn sword techniques, but also to develop muscle memory. Simply mastering evolving sword moves is not enough. He also needs to develop an instinct for wielding the sword, and he needs to be able to skillfully connect, transition, and vary his sword techniques. These are things that Blood Seal may not be able to provide him. Moreover, daily exercise can increase physical fitness, which might reduce the amount of energy reserves needed in the future. This was his speculation. In the blink of an eye, 2 months have passed, and the second evolution of the 100 turns and 1,000 hearts technique is now complete. Just as Lin Hui was alone under the shade of a tree outside the Taoist temple, familiarizing himself with the point of force for the second move. Suddenly, a fellow student from the same room rushed over. Hui, Shen is in trouble. Quick, come help him. Lin Hui frowned, recognizing the other person's appearance. He immediately put down the wooden stick and followed the other person into the Taoist temple. What happened? He asked as he ran. It was Chen Chong. Chen Chong ruined by Hua, the student said through gritted teeth, his face covered in sweat. Lin Hui's heart skipped a beat. He knew something was wrong. The two quickly entered the Taoist temple and headed straight for the square in front. Before they even arrived, they heard Chen Jishin roar angrily. His extreme rage could be heard even from dozens of meters away. I'll kill you. Hold on. Shen, don't be impulsive. The others reached out and grabbed Chen Jishin, holding him back to prevent him from rushing towards the smug Chen Chong on the other side. Chen Jishin's face was flushed purple, and his veins were bulging. He charged forward on the muddy ground like a bull in a fight, but he just couldn't break free from the seemingly loose embrace of the people around him. Not far away, Liu Beihua stood quietly in the corner, the upper half of her face blocked by the shadow under the eaves. Only her fair chin and lips could be seen. Lin Hui slowed down, chuckled at Chen Chong, glanced in this direction, then walked up to Liu Beihua, put his arm around her, and walked away with his several followers. This is boring. I thought he would actually dare to charge at us, but this is all we got. His last words struck Chen Jishin like a thunderbolt. He froze, no matter who pulled him. He stopped moving, just lying there, biting his lip. His fists clenched so tightly they cracked. Time passed second by second. Sai, a student nearby, sighed, watched for a while, and then turned and left. This seemed to be a signal, causing the others to leave one after another. Soon only Lin Hui and Chen Jishin remained on the field. The raindrops fell little by little, gradually growing larger and denser. Let's go. Let's go back. Lin Hui stepped forward and stood in front of the other person. If Chen Jishin had actually charged forward, he might have tried to help him, but now. Thump. Chen Jishin knelt down on the ground, head bowed, a faint sob escaping his nose. Hui, am I really useless? You also have parents, Lin Hui said calmly. Chen Jishin choked up and stopped speaking. He really wanted to rush forward, but... Let's go. Before we have enough strength, any so-called revenge will only destroy us, Lin Hui said softly. He helped the other person up, and the two slowly made their way back to the communal sleeping area in the light rain. Neither of them spoke again. Lying in the dormitory-style dormitory, Lin Hui pondered silently. Chen Jishin is not an isolated case. This world is like this survival of the fittest. Before others notice you, everything might be peaceful, but that's only because you're insignificant enough. If you have even the slightest bit of value to them, tell me, Hua, why didn't she resist? Chen Jishin asked softly from the side. Perhaps I understand, or perhaps I can't, Lin Hui replied. Then, How can I protect the people I want to protect? Chen Jishin asked again, his voice trembling. He turned his face to look at Lin Hui, tears streaming silently down his face. Chen Chong isn't strong. Do you even know the levels of martial arts? Lin Hui retorted. Without waiting for a reply, he continued. Master Mingxiu once said that our Qingfeng temple mainly cultivates the Qingfeng sword technique. The sword technique is based on the 7-section fast sword, and then used in actual combat with the 9-section fast sword. Finally, after mastering the Qingfeng sword technique, one can be considered a master in the entire Taiyu, except for a few hundred people at the middle level and above of the 3 major sects. Yes, this is a real world. There is no such thing as equal strength based on cultivation level. Lin Hui has learned this in detail over the past few days. In a power like Qingfeng Temple, their internal strength is divided according to the martial arts level within the sect. As for how well one performs in the outside world after mastering the martial arts within their own sect, it mainly depends on the battle records of their masters. The strongest member of the sect, Abbot Baya, once defeated several martial arts school masters in the inner city multiple times, with a single killing move from the Qingfeng sword technique, the 3 points of wind control. Although he was ultimately defeated by the master of Feiyan Hall and others, his exceptional agility allowed him to escape unscathed. Of course, these are their results publicized, and naturally, the publicity focuses mostly on the wins. No one is ashamed to actively publicize the losses. If I master the Qingfeng sword, will I be able to overpower Chen Chong? Chen Jishin asked in a low voice. Perhaps. Chen Chong is just a distant relative of the Chen family, from some unknown branch. There are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people like him in the city. If you can rise to the rank of a teacher in the Ming generation, you should be able to surpass him. After all, he is always very respectful to teachers in the Ming generation, Lin Hui replied. He glanced at you one last time, and I knew he let me go because of you. I'll remember that kindness, Chen Jishin said haltingly. Why? Lin Hui asked, puzzled. I don't think I have anything that he would be afraid of, do I? You come from the Lin family. 3 members of the Lin family entered the 3 major branches of the inner city, one of whom also joined the Chen family's main branch. And your eldest sister was recently inspired, and officially became a follower of the Rain Palace cult. Those are elite members of the Shayu cult. You may not have noticed these background details yourself, but we outsiders remember them clearly and dare not ignore them. Chen Jishin seemed to have calmed down a bit and softened his voice. This is the power of a family. Lin Hui fell silent. He thought of the old clan chief, who was also his grandfather, Lin Kaoi. He stopped talking, but his feelings were complicated. He lay on his back on the bed, his mind replaying everything that had happened in the past few days. Before he knew it, he had slowly fallen asleep. The next day, as soon as the fog dissipated, bursts of laughter and chatter echoed from the Taoist temple. The students in the dormitory got up one after another, happily packed their things, and prepared to go out. You can go home today. Are your family members coming to pick you up? Chen Jishin was also packing his things, his face calm, seemingly showing no trace of the anger and pain he had felt earlier. But Lin Hui knew that he had simply kept everything hidden. I don't know, we'll find out when we go out and see, he replied. Hui, you're going the same way back with me. Want to come along? One of the people in the communal room asked enthusiastically. Thank you, but no, you can go back now, Lin Hui politely declined. He quickly tidied up his clothes, which he hadn't had time to wash yet, his worn-out boots and socks, a porcelain cup with a chip in it, and a wooden stick that he had been holding in his hand so much that it was almost worn smooth. Pushing open the door, I saw 2 Taoist priests maintaining order outside the temple, checking the disciples and students as they left one by one. They only let people leave after confirming that someone from their family had come. Lin Hui stepped forward, and several people immediately greeted him. Among those who greeted them were even a few members of Huang Shan's small group, who were all from circles with some background. After Chen Chong's incident yesterday, they inquired among themselves and learned about the recent changes in the Lin family. If 3 people were allowed to enter the inner city, and one of them was even called to become an elite follower, then the meaning would be different. In an instant, Lin Hui seemed to have transformed from an unknown nobody into a genius like Huang Shan, attracting everyone's attention. Not far away, Qiu Yayan, a genius on par with Huang Shan, followed behind her senior sister Mu Kaiaji, watching this scene from afar with some confusion. Senior sister, is the Sha Yusek summoning power really that strong? Even a distant relative of the Chen family like Chen Chong has to give it face. The Sha Yusek's recruitment process generally depends heavily on talent. Within their entire sect, only about 8,000 people are qualified for recruitment. Once successfully recruited, they will eventually be sent out to serve as managers, and their status and strength will not be much inferior to our Qingfeng Temple abbot. What do you think? Mu Kaiaji said calmly. The call to heaven is like a fish leaping over the dragon gate, ascending to the heavens in a single day, becoming as strong as copper and as old as iron, and greatly extending one's lifespan. In addition, I heard that Lin Hui and Lin Hongzhen have a good relationship. If he doesn't give face, Chen Chong will be criticized when he goes back. That kid may be successful outside, but in the Chen family, he's just an ostracized nobody. He only dares to take his temper out on outsiders, Mu Kaiaji said coldly. She stood calmly at the back of the students, watching the changing emotions before her, her pale blue eyes filled with indifference. Compared to Qiu Yayan beside her, she was particularly beautiful, but years of martial arts and sword practice had given her an extremely strong upper body, a large chest, and long, well-proportioned legs. Her fitted light blue dress made her look like a female leopard, agile, powerful and full of vibrant beauty. So in our temple, who else has a similar background? Could you please enlighten me, senior sister? Qiu Yayan asked softly. The two people beside Huang Shan are Zhang Yuqin and Zhang Yushin. Their elder brother is a summoning officer in the inner city government. There's also Chen Chong's sister, who is a summoner within the Chen family. Then there's your second senior brother and me. We all have relatives in our families who have successfully summoned the three great summoners in their inner city, Mu Kaiaji said calmly. Qiu Yayan and the other students who overheard this were slightly startled and secretly made a mental note of it. Then, senior sister, can a summoner really reach the level of our master in one fell swoop? Qiu Yayan asked again. How could that be? They only gained a body of copper and iron at once, but there are still weaknesses in actual combat. If it really comes down to a fight without a foundation in martial arts, it's naturally impossible to win against a master of the Ming generation. However, their status and position are different, so it will be much easier for them to learn martial arts techniques. Their starting point is far higher than that of ordinary people like us, Mu Kaiaji explained, clearly having high hopes for her junior sister, Yayan. By this time, most of the boys in front had already left. So she took the lead and started the girls to leave in line. Inside the gloomy ox-cart carriage, Father Lin Shun sat cross-legged on the soft couch, looking at his son who had been silent ever since he entered. What's wrong? You look so bitter and resentful. Lin Shun has been visibly busy lately. His skin is darker and he's thinner, but his eyes are brighter and more expressive than before. He was wearing a brown-green silk robe with a leather vest over it. And he seemed to be in a good mood. Lin Hui sighed and recounted the incident involving Liu Beihua. It happens all the time, Lin Shun sighed. That's just how the world is. If you're weak, you're like a weed by the roadside. You can only endure being trampled on. And what about our family? Lin Hui suddenly asked. Don't worry, no one will dare to mess with you for no reason. Lin Shun shook his head with a chuckle. Why? Because your father is working for a powerful figure. And that powerful figure is no ordinary person. All right, never mind that. Tell me, how are you feeling at the temple? Lin Shun changed the subject and asked. It's all right. Master Ming will bring me their accounts regularly to calculate, but they are not difficult and don't take up much of my time. Lin Hui thought about the simple math problems he had done before. Because they were so simple, he needed to think carefully to remember them. When Brother Ming mentioned this to me, he also praised your excellent arithmetic skills, saying you were much better than the previous accountant. So he mentioned it to Taoist Bea, and confirmed that you would be in charge of some of their accounts at Qingfeng Temple from now on. As for your wages, they will be used to offset your current expenses for martial arts training, at a rate of 1,000 coins per month. 1,000 coins wasn't much. But considering the high cost of martial arts training, and the decent food and other necessities provided by King Feng Temple, Lin Hui didn't say anything. Did father know that my cousin was inspired and successfully became a follower of the Rain Palace of the Seiyu cult? Lin Hui asked again. Yes, the Lin family held a banquet a while ago, but it has nothing to do with us. We are no longer members of the Lin family, Lin Shun said softly. Of course, your private relationship with Lin Hongzhen is your business. I understand, Lin Hui nodded. That's reality. Everyone has their own fate, life goes on, the sun still rises as usual, just like that fog, it won't change for tens of thousands of years. Lin Shun sighed. Next, he inquired about Lin Hui's martial arts and sword practice. Upon hearing that his progress was slow, he stopped worrying. Clearly in his eyes, mastering swordsmanship would be a bad thing. The right path was for Lin Hui to honestly work as an assistant accountant, doing the math, and eventually become a full-time accountant to earn a living. Once you become a full-fledged accountant, I'll find you a wife, and then you can have a few sons. That way our branch will expand and grow stronger, Lin Shun said with a smile. Dad seems to be in a good mood, Lin Hui noticed something. Yes, we just made a big deal and earned quite a bit. But this is something I can't talk about. Just keep it to yourself and don't spread it around, Lin Shun nodded. The ox cart slowly entered the main road, and the sides were no longer remote. Through the half-open car window, Lin Hui could see golden rice fields being harvested on both sides of the dirt road. Flocks of black birds circled in the air above the fields. I don't know how they got there. I've heard that birds can enter and leave freely without being affected by the fog, Dad. Is that true? Lin Hui asked. How could that be? These are birds that live in the city. Once they go out, they basically never come back. But if they go out for a short time and are lucky, they can still come back by speed, Lin Shun replied. With a thought, dark red blood characters appeared in Lin Hui's field of vision. The 100 turns and 1,000 hearts technique has been fully evolved, and now he is seamlessly transitioning to the third move transformation into the west wind. It still takes 60 days, consuming energy and time, but nothing else. It's less of an evolution and more of a deduction. When the time is up, the automatic deduction completes, allowing me to fully master the deduce and obtain enhanced and perfected techniques. This blood seal seems more like a deduction device, Lin Hui pondered in his heart. When I got home, my mother, Yao Shan, had already prepared a large table of dishes. The family had also hired an extra helper to help with everything. My mother called her sister Luo. She came from a nearby farming family. Outside the courtyard, workers were building a second outer wall, doubling the size of the already large courtyard. It's obvious that once the father had money, he started expanding the family business. After finishing his morning work, his father took Lin Hui out to visit old friends, trying to build a network of connections for the next generation. However, looking at his father's smug face, Lin Hui felt a strange sense of unease. Although they separated from the family, their wealth relied entirely on the blessings of influential people, because their father lacked the martial prowess to support the family. For now, the favors of these influential people were good, but what if one day those relationships ended? By then, if they are unable to support themselves, how will they cope? Will they rely on these so-called connections and old friends? He mentioned his concerns to his father, but his father dismissed them, telling him to relax and that he would handle things. He only needed to focus on his own tasks. The holiday lasted 3 days and ended quickly. Lin Hui got back onto the ox cart and headed back towards King Feng Temple. This time he didn't force himself. Instead, he asked Hui Shen, who was also the disciple of Ming Zhenren, to arrange a single room for him to stay in. What followed was the monotonous daily sword practice, honing the body day after day, regardless of wind or rain. Chen Jishan still walked with him as usual, but after Liu Beihua's incident, he became taciturn, and the determination in his eyes was more somber than before. He practices swordsmanship every day without any distraction. While others rest, he practices. While others play, he practices. While others chat, he squeezes in time to practice. Lin Hui was worried that he would ruin his health by practicing, so he often bought him some nourishing and healing medicines from the Taoist temple's logistics department. This was nothing to him, who had already started earning money. But for Chen Jishan, it was undoubtedly a timely and much-needed support. Lin Hui only needs to wait for time to make progress step by step, and once he makes progress, he will never regress. Therefore, his sword practice focuses more on training his physical reflexes. He doesn't need any nourishment or healing. In the blink of an eye, the third move was successfully evolved, followed by the fourth move. During this period, Lin Hui also officially took over some of their accounting support work at the Taoist temple, and his identity changed from a disciple to a half-disciple and half-logistics member. He Huishan and Master Mingde also interacted much more frequently than before. During this period, another group of people left the Taoist temple, and a new group of people arrived. After paying the tuition, the introductory teaching for the newcomers began again. This time, Lin Hui was no longer one of them, but stood in the area in front of the senior disciples. Wang Shan and Qiu Yairn, two geniuses, have completely mastered the 7-section fast sword technique and its power points, and have begun learning the second set, the 9-section fast sword. It is said that they have also finished learning the 9-section fast sword, and the two have begun to formally spar with their senior brothers and sisters. Among the new students, there were no geniuses like them. Only a few had some talent, but they were far from being as good. After the new student training session concludes, the long-absent Taoist Baya unexpectedly made an appearance, briefly surveying the backstage area to check on everyone's progress. Although it was supposed to be an inspection, his gaze kept lingering around Huang Shan and Qiu Yairn, clearly indicating that he came specifically for the two women. He didn't care how well the others practiced. Lin Hui stood in the back row, practicing the 7-section fast sword with meticulous care. He had replaced the wooden stick in his hand with a rough wooden sword. At this moment, his backhand swirl was skillful and smooth. The first 3 moves were perfect, but the last 4 moves instantly reverted to their original form, which was just mediocre and extremely painful to watch. After finishing a set of sword techniques, he paused briefly to rest and catch his breath. "All right, everyone stop for a moment. Since the abbot is here, let's have a little impromptu competition today. Let's see how everyone is doing." Taoist Mingxiu clapped his hands, drawing everyone's attention. There were over 100 disciples present, scattered throughout the large backyard, practicing their swordsmanship. Upon hearing the sound, some of the newly arrived disciples immediately became excited. Everyone enjoys watching their excitement, but the older disciples, whose progress is worrying, don't look too happy. Mingxiu didn't care about any of that and clapped her hands again. Disciples who have mastered the 9-section quick sword step forward. The 7-section quick sword is only a training method, so it cannot be used for actual combat. Only the 9-section quick sword and the gentle breeze sword technique are the true combat sword techniques used in the temple. Immediately, 20 of the hundreds of disciples stepped forward one after another. This included senior disciple Chen Sui and others. These 20 people are clearly the true elite among the current disciples of the Taoist temple. As for the other disciples and students, they all have the possibility of leaving in disappointment before they have fully mastered the 7-section quick sword. Therefore, they were not formal disciples. These 20 people are the true core of Qingfeng Taoist temple. Since it's a small competition, let's stick to the old rules and give a prize. The top 5 will each receive a dose of bright body powder made by the temple, Mingxiu said with a smile. The competition quickly began by drawing lots, with disciples stepping forward one by one, wielding wooden swords and wielding 9-section fast swords in combat. Lin Hui observed the battle from their outside, and keenly noticed that these disciples' movement speed was much faster than that of ordinary people. The body tempering and lightness enhancing effects of the 7-section quick sword are working, Chen Jishan whispered from the side. It's said that mastering the 7-section fast sword technique once has the effect of tempering the body and making one feel lighter. Now it seems that it really is true. Looking at his senior brothers and sisters on the field who were even more agile than monkeys, Lin Hui finally had a more direct understanding of Qingfeng Temple's life-saving abilities. To be honest, This was the first time he had seen the true effect of the sword technique he had practiced since he entered the temple. However, such competitions are nothing more than a comparison of everyone's mastery of the 9-section fast sword and the degree of tempering of the 7-section fast sword. If we really want to go out, what we need to increase is our experience in dealing with other types of martial arts and enemies, Lin Hui said softly. That's true, but as long as your movements are fast enough to survive, you can slowly observe and accumulate experience. Isn't that the same? Chen Jishan said. After learning for so long, everyone is no longer the novice they once were. They often communicate and ask questions with others, and they know much more than before. On the open space that had been cleared, the two swordsmen were locked in a fierce and evenly matched battle. Finally, one of them couldn't hold back any longer and suddenly changed his move, switching from the 9-section quicksword to the one-handed cloud sweeping technique of the gentle breeze swordplay. 3 consecutive slaps. Their opponent's wooden sword was suddenly jerked away by this move, flying out of his hand and crashing to the ground. Wu Cheng victory, the Taoist priest who was calculating nearby shouted. Lin Hui, watching from outside, squinted as he observed this scene. Is the Qingfeng sword technique really that powerful? Of course it's strong, otherwise why would our Taoist temple be called Qingfeng Temple? A light female voice came from the side. The speaker was a petite female disciple, with a beautiful appearance and a pitiful demeanor. Lin Hui recognized the person who had just arrived. Among the new disciples who had entered the temple, the one with relatively good talent was named Zai Lai.